Chapter 1478. Teacher knew the most profound history and greatest secret of the galaxy. He was like an encyclopedia. There were even rumors that he had reached soul formation before the Ruins Emperor. Back in the Southgate One-Star world, before they attacked the immortal ground, the Ruins Emperor was only his student. He was even considered the Ruins Emperor's spiritual mentor. How am I harsh and ungrateful? Teacher, please enlighten me. Sword God of Ruins Emperor's palace bowed slightly in a humble manner. However, deep in his eyes, there was a hint of jealousy and indignation. Xin Chang, Joyless, and Ghost Wolf have already done their best. They never cowered in battle. It can be said that they died in battle for the Ruins Emperor's palace. Won't you disappoint the loyal ones by dealing with them in such a manner? Teacher bowed politely with his hands clasped. Teacher, you are speaking up for Chancellor Deadwood, right? Sword God of Ruins Emperor's palace said with a smile. Previously, Chancellor Deadwood had been ordered to be dealt with by Sword God of Ruins Emperor's palace. His lineage was removed from the Academy sequence and sent back to their hometowns, exiled to the Western Desert world. And at the end of the day, Chancellor Deadwood was a member of the Academy, a disciple of Teacher. Naturally, Teacher had to speak up for him. Chancellor Deadwood is different from Xin Chang and Company. Xin Chang and Company were authorized to take part in the military operation. They sacrificed themselves for the Ruins Emperor and the Ruins of Immortality. Teacher said patiently, but to be honest, the way you dealt with Chancellor Deadwood is not very appropriate. It's normal for cultivators to perish when they encounter experts. What's wrong with that? Besides, Deadwood's death has already caused his family great pain. We should be killing the culprit, Kong Taechu. We should not have any internal strife. Furthermore, you have no right to deal with the people of the Academy. All right. Teacher, what you say makes sense, but I have my reasons as well. You say that I can't deal with his descendants, so I'll use my Supreme Sword Dao to tell you that I have the right to do so. Sword God stood alone, aloof and aloof. Even the sect masters of the 6 grotto heavens did not dare stand beside him. When he heard that, his expression changed. Finally, he gritted his teeth and released infinite sword chi, approaching Teacher. He actually wanted to challenge the headmaster. Everyone was shocked. Sword God, no. You and Mr. Teacher are trusted subordinates of our Ruins Emperor. If you were to fight and something were to happen to you, wouldn't it only bring pain to those close to you and delight the enemy? Many sect masters, princes, princesses, and nobles were so scared that their faces turned pale. They hurriedly tried to persuade him. Prince Qiuming even knelt down and cried with tears in his eyes, Your Excellency Sword God, this disciple has failed in leading the troops to suppress the bandits. Please calm down. If you're not satisfied, then punish me. Everyone knew that Sword God and Teacher held supreme positions in the Ruins of Immortality. Apart from the Ruins Emperor, no one could subdue them. Even the masters of the 6 grotto heavens paled in comparison. Not only did they represent themselves, but each of them also had a few great powers following behind them. Once a battle broke out, it would be a civil war. The people would be plunged into misery and suffering, and the flames of war would burn continuously. You think I'm afraid of you? The headmaster chuckled. His aura suddenly changed, as if he was a peerless hero looking down on the world. Rumble. Dark clouds covered the surrounding 10,000 miles and thunder rumbled in the void. In the boundlessly vast world of the Ruins of Immortality, billions of creatures could clearly sense his peerless majesty, and they all seemed to tremble. His divine might was astounding. A soul formation expert resonated with the great Tao of heaven and earth of this land. When a soul formation expert was enraged, the world would immediately sense it. Your Excellency Sword God, please listen to me. At that moment, the river of stars trembled as beams of starlight tore through the clouds, stirring away the gray clouds and lightning. Above the imperial capital, in a heavenly palace that resembled an immortal's palace, a figure traversed 10,000 miles of the void and instantly flew over. Sky Palace's Palace Lord, Sky River Star Lord. Greetings, Star Lord. Everyone bowed in a humble and respectful manner. Many people were shocked. Sky Palace's Palace Lord, White Jade Academy's founder, teacher, and the #1 expert of the ruins Emperor's Palace, Sword God, had all come personally because of Kong Techu. Such a thing was extremely rare in the history of the ruins of immortality. His Majesty, the ruins Emperor, had already stopped his blood and stopped his lifespan for thousands of years. He would come out of seclusion once every 1,000 years. That day was known as the Day of Seclusion. On the Day of Seclusion, the entire ruins of immortality celebrated. With the beating of gongs and drums, thousands of nobles, royal descendants, and Grotto Heaven's sect masters came to the ruins Emperor's Palace to pay respects. However, Sky River Star Lord, Teacher, and Sword God had important positions, so not all of them were present. Dao brother! Sword God cupped his fists and bowed deeply. His expression softened slightly. We are all working for the ruins Emperor. Why should we cause a ruckus just because of some minor figures who have different opinions on how to deal with them? Wouldn't it be a joke to outsiders? Sky River Star Lord smiled warmly. Behind him was Prince Shah. Prince Shah was handsome and had an extraordinary bearing. His body shimmered with starlight, and his eyes were as resplendent as the stars. Prince Shah walked in front of Prince Chiu Yang, his face filled with admiration. He bowed and said, "Brother, you have racked your brains to suppress the bandits. You have worked hard." "Sigh, I'm ashamed." Prince Chiu Yang felt ashamed as he said, "Don't worry. Once Senior Sky River is here, they won't be able to fight," Prince Shah said with a smile. "Don't worry." Indeed. With Sky River Star Lord mediating, Sword God immediately dispersed his billowing sword chi and said respectfully, "I'll listen to you, Dao brother. I won't investigate how to deal with Chancellor Deadwood's descendants. However, Golden Crow and the other 2 guards are my men. I'm very displeased with their actions, so I naturally have to punish them." Seeing the Heavenly River Star Sovereign come out to mediate and easily resolve the crisis, everyone looked at each other in shock. "Do you know? I heard that Lord Sword God comes from a powerful Dao orthodoxy outside the South Gate Galaxy. Back then, he fought with the sword son of that orthodoxy for the position of successor. He eventually lost and had no choice but to flee to our South Gate Twin Stars." The Skylight Grotto Heaven's sect master said with a voice transmission. "That can't be. Sword God is the strongest expert in our ruins Emperor's Palace. Apart from His Majesty the ruins Emperor, Teacher, and Heavenly River Star Lord, he is the strongest expert in our ruins Emperor's Palace. Apart from Master and Teacher, even the sect masters of the 6 Grotto Heavens and Patriarch Ling, the leader of the 8 aristocratic families, claim that they are not Sword God's match." The surrounding sect masters and elders clicked their tongues. Master, Sky River Star Lord and Sword God were the few known peerless soul formation cultivators in the deity ruins. Some of the sect masters of the 6 Grotto Heavens and the leaders of the 8 aristocratic families had already reached the soul formation level, but they all thought that they were no match for Sword God of the ruins Emperor's Palace. However, such a powerful Sword God was only a loser in a battle between orthodoxies. How could everyone not be shocked? I heard that from an old friend of mine in the Tianji Grotto Heaven. It said that the ancient orthodoxy is extremely powerful and spans across several galaxies. It's a top force in the entire banking system, and there might be more than one soul formation grand cultivator. Sword Sun is even listed on the galaxy roll. He has become a god and is famous across the galaxy. The sect master of the Skylight Grotto Heaven continued to gossip. The galaxy roll. Everyone was silent when they heard this, and their faces were incomparably stern. They had heard that the roll was published by the Beidou planet region. Only those who had reached the soul formation level and swept across the galaxy were qualified to be listed on the roll. Up until then, no one in the history of the Southgate Galaxy had ever been listed. Chapter 1479. Rumor has it that Senior Sword God was defeated in a battle with Sword Sun. He was severely injured and wandered the desolate universe. He was rescued by Milky Way Starlord's spaceship, which was searching for extraterrestrial civilizations. That was how he came to our galaxy. The Skylight Grotto Heavens sect master said that. Everyone immediately came to a realization. It turned out that Milky Way Star-Lord had saved his life. Then, even if Milky Way Star-Lord's cultivation level was inferior to his, Sword God of the Ruins Emperor's Palace would still listen to him out of gratitude for saving his life. At that moment, Milky Way Star-Lord looked at Teacher and said with a bitter smile, "Mr. Teacher, everyone has their own duties and responsibilities. I think we shouldn't interfere with the matters of the Ruins Emperor's Palace. I'm just giving you a reminder. If His Excellency Sword God is unwilling to listen, so be it." Teacher cupped his hands. However, Kong Taechu is indeed sinister. At that moment, Milky Way Star-Lord revealed a worried look as he said in a deep voice, "In my opinion, one of the three of us should descend to the lower realm and capture him personally. Only then will we not let His Majesty down." The moment he said that, everyone was shocked. A Grotto Heavens sect master stepped forward and bowed with cupped fists. He said sincerely, "The three of you are the guardians of this world. If you were to descend to the lower realm, I'm afraid something might happen. Recently, there have been movements in hell and the human world. The ruins of immortality was not as calm as it appeared on the surface, nor was it a monolithic entity. Undercurrents were surging, and there were many resistance factions that were enemies of the Ruins Emperor's Palace. Hell and the human world have appeared again? Sigh, it's true that a wildfire can't burn it out. It grows again when the spring breeze blows." Hearing these two words, everyone felt a headache coming on. Many of the princes shuddered. Hell, the human world, the heavenly courts. They were the three most terrifying assassin dynasties in this world after the era of the Ruins Emperor began. They had an ancient heritage that sent chills down many Grotto Heaven spines and terrified many princes. Legend has it that the heavenly court was related to the heavenly court of the celestial land. It had a long history and held supreme authority. It was high above the masses and had as many powerful cultivators as there were clouds. It was like an ancient god of death that looked down on the common people. With a single thought, it could cause rivers of blood to flow and dictate the fate of others. The human world was like a drop of water in an ocean of people. It was hard to track it down. You couldn't guard against it at all. Nobody knew when they would launch a thunderous attack. They had even killed dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords and princes. Hell. That was a group of fallen gods. They were the most violent and powerful. It was said that many of their members had reached the soul formation stage, but they were cursed by an unknown curse. They were like gods and devils, and they were the most violent and wild. They could easily kill soul formation grand cultivators with the blood-stained swords in their hands. They liked to exterminate. There was once an emperor of the Emperor Palace of the Ruins Emperor, but even his palace had been crushed. Legend has it that in the headquarters of the Hell Divine Court, there were wine cups made from the skulls of soul formation and nascent soul cultivators they had killed. There were nourishing wines made from their organs, beds made from their hair, and paintings made from their skin. They were cold-blooded and horrifying. They were the most mysterious and terrifying. Although the 9 guards of the Ruins Emperor Palace, the 100 Moon Academy, the 6 Grotto Heavens, and the 8 Guardian families had once sent countless powerful cultivators and thousands of troops to kill them, both sides had suffered casualties. However, both sides only suffered casualties, and the 3 assassin dynasties were only slightly weakened. They had existed with the world for a long time, perhaps even longer than the Ruins Emperor. However, they kept a lower profile. No one knew where they were and it was harder to wipe them out. They were like the sword of Damocles that hung above the Ruins Emperor Palace. It made everyone's hair stand on end. Even top powerhouses like the headmaster had a headache. That's right. 10 days ago, in Heaven Spirit County, the Grotto Heavens sect master described a few cases. They were all bloody and shocking cases that had happened recently. They were extremely violent and vicious. It's very likely that hell and the human world have already sensed Kong Taechu's actions. They are using us to deal with Kong Taechu. While they are busy dealing with one thing and lose sight of the other, they are committing the crime. Finally, the Grotto Heavens sect master made the final decision and pointed out the crux of the matter. A bunch of rascals that only know how to sneak up on others. If I were to encounter them, I would crush them with one hand. Sword God snorted coldly as he emitted a dense killing intent. Let's do it this way. Suddenly, the headmaster said leisurely. Since Sword God hates hell and the human world to the core, kill them with your own hands. This time, the 100 Moon Academy will send troops to the lower realm to take down Kong Taechu. Chancellor Kumu died such a tragic death. Kong Taechu will have to answer to me. With both internal and external troubles, we should work together. The various Grotto Heavens, Guardian families, and the royal family are to listen to the orders and dispatches of the 100 Moon Academy and the Ruins Emperor Palace. Yes. Once the headmaster spoke, all the sect masters of the Grotto Heavens, Guardian families and nobles immediately knelt on the ground and nodded in agreement. While the ruins of deity were shaking uneasily, Jiang Tian had been in seclusion for more than 30 days. 10,000 golden cores, a few hundred nascent soul cultivators and more than 20 half-step soul formation cultivators were truly extraordinary, allowing Jiang Tian's cultivation to soar. And this time, Jiang Tian. He focused on refining the Kunping golden core and the corresponding divine body and dharma laws to reach the nascent soul formation state. His divine body transcended and formed the true seal of dharma laws. Rumble. The true essence in Jiang Tian's body surged like a river, letting out thunderous sounds. When Jiang Tian's Kunping golden core formed the nascent soul, it caused an earth-shattering thunder tribulation that was even more terrifying than the nascent soul tribulation. Clang. Oh God, this thunder tribulation is comparable to the tribulation of a nascent soul heavenly lord. His power is indeed incredible. Seeing the thunderclouds gathering in the sky and the giant thunder dragons striking, Ghost Wolf was so frightened that he fell to the ground and trembled. It would be strange if he wasn't afraid. Jiang Tian's golden core nascent soul formation was a leap from the first level to the 9th level of the golden core level, as if he had crossed the heavenly moat in one step. What he completed was the hard work of other cultivators for 1,000 years. Such a huge improvement was completed in a few days or even a day. How terrifying was that? It was like watching a 3-year-old baby grow into a giant overnight. Of course, it was shocking to the extreme. This is normal. Even though he's only a nascent soul cultivator, he's forming the true seal of the laws of Kunpeng. It would be strange if the thunder tribulation didn't happen. Wu Shujian was also astonished. Yao Yu Fairy and Long Xingnan were also dumbfounded, as if they had seen a ghost. Rumble. The lightning tribulation descended. Dozens of lightning dragons rushed out, condensing into a huge 7-colored lightning ball. It smashed towards Jiang Tian, containing an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. This was already the 81st thunder tribulation that Jiang Tian had endured that day. The previous thunder tribulations had a few or even dozens of thunder dragons at the same time. Even a real nascent soul heavenly lord wouldn't be able to withstand it. Swallow. Jiang Tian's face was as cold as iron and his eyes were as firm as steel. Like a small mountain, the thunder puppet rushed out, opened its bloody mouth, and swallowed the 7-colored lightning ball like a whale swallowing a cow. Rumble. Thunder exploded in Thundermang's body, making his body flicker as if it were about to collapse. But in the end, he was subdued and became a part of Thundermang. At the instant the nomological seal was formed, Jiang Tian's aura instantly skyrocketed as it rose steadily. It rapidly surpassed Wu Shujian, Ghost Wolf, and even the sword god of the Ruins Emperor's Palace. It reached an unimaginable height. It was as vast as the heavens, as resplendent as the sun, moon, and stars. It was as mighty and extraordinary as a god, as deep and eternal as the universe. Chapter 1480. The thunder tribulation is finally over. Luckily, I didn't do it for nothing. The true seals of Thundermang and Kunpeng were formed and I completed 2 transformations of the divine disc. Jiang Tian heaved a sigh and his eyes were as bright as the sky. Kunpeng's golden core nascent soul, divine body and true seals of dharma laws were all within his expectations. And the nascent soul formation of Thundermang's golden core was a complete surprise. Probably because Jiang Tian had been breaking through to the nascent soul and golden core. The thunder tribulations he triggered were 10 times more powerful than those of the nascent soul tribulations. And those thunderbolts weren't wasted after the divine body of Thunder Meng was formed. They were swallowed by him and he evolved from the golden core to the nascent soul. At this time, Jiang Tian stood on the ruins and his body was surrounded by thousands of rays of light. He was like the golden body of a Buddha, as if a real god had come to the mortal world. There were already many divine chains of laws around him, such as aged metal, Taotai, fire of red sparrow, thunder and space of Kunpeng. The entire ancient demon abyss and the Inzhou world were shaking under his feet. The dimension was broken and the thunderbolts were intertwined. It was extremely terrifying, but he wasn't harmed at all. At this moment, Jiang Tian was like an undying god king that had descended into the world. He was so invincible, so undying, so powerful. Ghost Wolf, Wu Shujian and Yao Yu Fairy looked up in shock. They felt as if they were looking at a soul formation grand cultivator. Whoosh! Jiang Tian waved his sleeves, and the spatial fragments were swept away. The clouds and lightning scattered, and the sky became clear again, like a clear moon in the sky. Then, the thick earth chains started to suppress him and Jiang Tian used the sky-stealing sun-swapping art. There wasn't a single ripple of Dharma power, just like the boy next door. Congratulations, Master. You've killed a powerful enemy and refined it with 10,000 golden cores. Your Dharma power is as powerful as a river and as heavy as a mountain. You're almost at the soul formation level. Ta Kong, Mingyi, Qi Jiui, Ao Jiao, Bai Zhe and the black dog all flew over and congratulated him. Chim, get up. Jiang Tian's expression was indifferent. He was quite satisfied with such progress, but he was, after all, an old devil who had cultivated for 10,000 years in his previous life. He did not care about anything and could not reach the point where he was wild with joy. At that moment, Jiang Tian looked sternly at Wu Shujian and said with a faint smile, "Fellow Taoist Shujian, you are an elite disciple of the 100 Moons Academy after all. Are you really willing to side with me and betray the Ruins Emperor? My ancestor was also an important minister under Emperor Zhongli. He was forced to become a servant by them." Wu Shujian bowed to the ground and said passionately, "Disciple is willing to follow Senior Grand Primordium and conquer the world. We will charge into the battlefield, destroy the Ruins Emperor's palace, burn down the 100 Moons Academy, and behead the Ruins Emperor. At that time, who knows, I might even be able to establish my own sect and establish those unparalleled achievements that will be passed down through the ages." Bowing his head to Jiang Tian and begging for mercy was originally just a temporary measure. But for some unknown reason, when he spoke those arrogant words, he suddenly felt very, very good. His blood surged, and his heartbeat sped up as if he'd taken too many ferocious medicinal pills. He was shocked by his own actions. Could it be that I'm a traitor to begin with? That I've always subconsciously yearned to kill the Ruins Emperor? And this Kong Teichu has stirred my rebellious heart? Fellow Taoist, you sure are ambitious. Jiang Tian looked up into the sky and roared with laughter. He held his hands up, transforming them into a Yuan Qi hand that helped him up. What dogs hit Ruins Emperor? Every dog has its day, and the throne has its turn. Today, it's our turn. Who said that the throne of the Ruins of Immortality should belong to the Ruins Emperor alone? In the great Ruins of Immortality, in this beautiful world, it's good for us to be in charge. Jiang Tian then looked at Ghost Wolf and smiled warmly. Brother Ghost Wolf, are you only willing to submit to me because you are afraid of death? Don't worry. This battle is already over. If you leave now, I won't kill you. No, Ghost Wolf said solemnly. I have an irreconcilable feud with the Ruins Emperor's palace. However, a few of my best comrades were captured by them, so I had no choice but to work for them. Indeed, you have a grudge with them, Jiang Tian said with a smile. Senior, I wonder if you have heard of the human world's assassin dynasty? The moment Ghost Wolf said that, everyone's expressions changed. It was as though they had seen a devil. Even Long Shengnan exclaimed, "So you, Ghost Wolf, are actually a top assassin in the human world." In fact, the entire Dark Crow lineage and the entire Chaos Cave sect lineage are all branches of the human world's assassin dynasty. Ghost Wolf said solemnly. Long Xingnan was alarmed when she heard that. This was because the Chaos Cave sect was one of the top heavenly sects before it was wiped out. Yet, it was only a branch of the human world. It was evident how powerful the human world was. In the human world, when the ancient Earth began to wander the universe, there were divine craftsmen in charge of creating the multidimensional worlds. The spatial barrier and dimensional hole teleportation array came from them. They were skilled in the Tao of space. After the Ruins Emperor killed many ancient sages and the ancient heavenly courts were destroyed, these divine craftsmen went into hiding. They researched the ways of assassination and sneak attacks, insisting on being enemies with the Ruins Emperor. Ghost Wolf gave another piece of important news that shocked everyone. However, when Jiang Tian asked about the members of the human world and where they were stationed, Ghost Wolf did not elaborate. Back then, he had not even become the Chaos Cave sect's sect master. He was only an elite disciple and did not have the qualifications to speak directly to the human world, especially when the Chaos Cave sect was wiped out. Many of his fellow Taoists were suppressed and captured. He had pledged allegiance to the Ruins Emperor and lost contact with the human world. He was even listed as a must-kill target by the human world. The information he knew was limited. The so-called war is to have more comrades and fewer enemies. The human world, heavenly courts, and infernal courts, 3 assassin dynasties can be roped in and used. Jiang Tian clapped as he laughed with a mocking look in his eyes. At that moment, Long Xingnan interjected, Senior Ghost Wolf, the 6 heavenly sects of Hai Lan have joined the expedition to the lower realm. Why didn't anyone from our dragon clan participate? Ghost Wolf revealed a look of embarrassment before he coughed and sighed. Princess Xingnan, my condolences. As you and Princess Yanin were captured, your father, Long Baxia, came to the Ruins Emperor's palace to plead for mercy. He hoped to peacefully resolve the conflict with Senior Kong Teichu. However, Sword God and Prince Chiu Ming were infuriated. They believed that he had defected to the enemy and ordered the other 6 sects to join forces to wipe out the Dragon Clan. Your father, Long Baxia, and company were all wiped out. After hearing that, Long Xingnan's body trembled as she spewed out blood. Her eyes were bloodshot as though they were spewing fire. Everyone looked at him sympathetically. This was especially true for Ao Jiao and Qi Liqui, whose eyes were slightly red. Ao Jiao recalled the fate of her true dragon lineage. The Dragon Clan was originally helping the Ruins Emperor's palace suppress the flood dragons and billions of Fae. Now, the fate of the Dragon Clan and Long Xingnan was no different from her Ao families. As for Qi Liqui, she felt a chill run down her spine. Accompanying a ruler was like accompanying a tiger. With the 2 princesses of the Dragon Clan captured, it was completely understandable that Long Baxia wanted to resolve the conflict peacefully. However, he had ended up with the destruction of his clan. The Ruins Emperor's palace was too ruthless. Long Xingnan gritted her teeth as blood seeped out from the corners of her mouth. Her eyes, which were filled with hatred, seemed to penetrate the strict spatial barriers as they shot towards a resplendent star deep in the void. She roared hysterically at the sky. Sword God and Prince Chiu Ming of the Ruins Emperor's palace, you are ruthless. My Dragon Clan is loyal and diligent. We have guarded the billowing sea world for thousands of years for your Ruins Emperor's palace. Even if we have not contributed, we have worked hard. But to think that you... She kowtowed to Jiang Tian and kept kowtowing. She pleaded with tears of blood. Your Majesty, please bring me to the ruins of immortality and destroy the Ruins Emperor's palace. We will behead the Ruins Emperor. For this goal I will never waver. I will not hesitate to sacrifice my life for it. Chapter 1481. From now on, we'll be comrades. Jiang Tian laughed and nodded. Then, he said seriously, my strategy is still to fight. However, my strategy is still to use battle to nurture battle. Before all the Golden Core cultivators reach the nascent soul stage, I will definitely not take the initiative to attack the ruins of immortality and fight them head-on. Senior, how can I form a nascent soul level? Long Shengnan asked anxiously. In Long Shengnan's opinion, Jiang Tian's breakthrough was too difficult, or rather, the conditions were too harsh. It was too difficult to find 10,000 fresh golden cores, a few hundred nascent soul cultivators and dozens of half-soul formation cultivators like Jiang Tian did this time. It was impossible to replicate. I need top-notch wood type, water type, and ice type space sealing materials. Jiang Tian said in a deep voice. My breakthrough is different from that of normal cultivators. I don't need simple spirit chi. I need to refine deity material into the golden core. Jiang Tian didn't mention the earth-type materials. That was because the chaotic origin stone cauldron was enough. This kind of top-notch divine material was an item of the primordial chaos. It could create a primordial chaos world, and it was inexhaustible. Water-type divine material? I know there's a kind of Xianming cold spring in the North Sea. It's extremely cold and murderous. One drop can kill a foundation establishment cultivator. Long Shengnan's eyes glittered and she said, Xianming cold spring. That's a good thing. Jiang Tian was startled. Xianming cold spring. After all, the sea-suppressing pearl that Jiang Tian had obtained in the immortal trap grand formation released the dark underworld aura. If the Xianming cold spring wasn't a random name, it should be of the same origin as the Dinghai pearl, but it wasn't as thick as the Dinghai pearl. However, it had already formed a spirit spring and there should be a lot of it, enough to make Jiang Tian's Dinghai ice divine body reach the state of transcendence and form Dharma laws. If there was more, it could even evolve into the Xianshui azure dragon physique. The Xianming cold spring was also a water energy, but it was too cold, which was why it could freeze and interfere with the dimension. However, it could be used to strengthen the Xianshui azure dragon physique. How is the Xianming paradise related to the ruins of immortality? Jiang Tian asked. Jiang Tian would naturally be willing to negotiate with the people with lofty ideals who wanted to rebel against the ruins of immortality. They would give them valuable pills and magic treasures, and even teach them 1 or 2 real immortal Taoist techniques in exchange for some spring water to evolve the profound water azure dragon's laws. If they were also lackeys of the ruins of immortality, then not only would it not be enough to rob them, they would also have to exterminate their families and destroy their grotto heavens. The Xianming Grotto Heaven is a branch established by the Ruins Emperor's Palace to guard the northern sea world, just like how the Palace of Autumn is in the Ocean Wave world. Long Shengnan hurriedly said, in fact, Prince Qiuming still wanted to build a grotto heaven in the Dragon Gate, Yingzhou, and Penglai realms. However, you acted too quickly, and he still hasn't finished. Those guarding the Xianming Grotto Heaven are all direct descendants of Prince Qiuming. They come from the ruins of immortality and are extremely powerful. There should be many nascent soul heavenly lords. Besides, I can crush a nascent soul heavenly lord with my bare hands. Jiang Tian snickered and said with disdain. The viciousness in his eyes immediately made the surrounding temperature drop by dozens of degrees. His Kuan Peng speed-up divine body had already transcended and he could easily use the obliteration blade art. That was a blade art that could destroy space and contain supreme laws. Even a half-soul formation cultivator like Shun Chang didn't need to use the heavenly sword. He could easily kill him with the Kuan Peng's laws. Senior Taichu, there's a pearl tree in a forbidden land in the Penglai realm. Accompanied by Zhang Qingyang, swordsman Ao Tian also walked over and bowed respectfully, reporting, Brother Ao Tian. A few hundred years ago, I was stuck at the golden core level and couldn't make any progress. I risked my life to go to that forbidden land and got a leaf of the pearl tree. After taking it, my life was extended for a few hundred years and my power also increased. Long Shengnan looked at Sword Lord Outyin in shock. Even the Hai Lan world didn't know about this. That was the benefit of being powerful. Right now, Jiang Tian was clearly more important to Sword Monarch Ao Tian than the Dragon Clan back then. In fact, he was even more terrifying. That was why he told Jiang Tian. The Pearl Tree. Are you sure it's called that? Jiang Tian's eyes glittered. He reached out and grabbed Sword Lord Out Yin's shoulder tightly. Even though this tree couldn't be compared to the whirling divine tree and the world tree, it was still a rare divine tree and was one of the top ones in the central galaxy. Definitely. Indeed, that's the name. If you want this tree, I'm willing to show you the way. Senior, please let go. Jiang Tian's strength was so great that even Sword Saint Ao Tian, who had the body of a heavenly lord, could not withstand it. With a cracking sound, Sword Saint Ao Tian's bones were broken, and he grimaced in pain. All right, let's go to the Baiming realm first, then to the Penglai realm. Jiang Tian was thrilled. The strategy of using battles to support battles was indeed correct. He had never thought that there would be so many deity materials in the lower realms that were worth digging. Basically, after going to those two realms and collecting enough resources, Jiang Tian would have a high chance of completing the 9 transformations of the divine disc, shattering the core and forming the nascent soul, forming the 9-orifice chaotic divine nascent soul. By then, Jiang Tian's power would reach an unimaginable level and he would be able to compete with soul formation cultivators, or even stronger. Master, we're willing to go with you. Everyone was reluctant, wishing to follow Jiang Tian and fight alongside him. They were loyal and wanted to follow Jiang Tian to do something great. Defeating the Ruins Emperor would change the world and make history. His achievements would be remembered for thousands of years. You also need people to take care of your daily life. Master, let us follow you. Qi Liqui and Ao Jiao's relationship with Jiang Tian was no longer as simple as that of a master and servant. They were even more reluctant to leave. Their eyes turned red and they were about to cry. I'm not going to fight head-on at this stage. I'll keep a low profile and be careful, so there's no need to bring too many people with me. We'll attract attention if we bring too many people. Besides, the Dragon Gate and the Inzhou realm are too weak right now. They need your protection. Jiang Tian smiled and said, This time, I'll only bring Long Shengnan, Ghost Wolf, Wu Shujian and his partner to the Baiming realm, then to the Penglai realm to meet Sword Lord Ao Tian. No one dared to disobey. Jiang Tian looked at Ghost Wolf and said, Ghost Wolf, tell me about all the secret arrays. Ghost Wolf, tell the Blue Parasol Qi family, Qi Jiui, and Princess Li Qi the locations of all the secret teleportation formations in this world. As long as those secret dimensional caves were sealed, they could only rely on interstellar travel to get in, which would be easy to detect. Realm Lord Qi, there are a total of 18 secret dimensional caves in the ruins of Deity and the Hylon realm. Ghost Wolf didn't dare to disobey. Qi Liqui and Qi Jiui remembered. Jiang Tian flicked his sleeves and said, If the enemies of the ruins of Deity come and you can't defeat them, run. Don't try to be brave. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Preserving your strength is the most important thing. After giving these instructions, Jiang Tian, accompanied by Qi Liqui and the others, arrived at a world cave level teleportation formation. This dimensional cave teleportation formation led directly to the Baiming realm. In fact, Jiang Tian had the power of a top nascent soul cultivator and a half-soul formation cultivator. He could travel through the universe and fly to the Baiming realm with his body and Dharma power. However, it would take too much time. From the universe, one could see a planet very close. In fact, they could be billions of kilometers away from each other or even more. Even for a nascent soul heavenly lord, it would take him 8 years or even dozens of years to travel from one planet to another. With Jiang Tian's speed, it would take him at least half a month to break through the dimension with the Kunping Dharma laws. Jiang Tian was worried that something unexpected would happen. Master, the Hylon realm and the ruins of Deity also have dimensional caves in the Baiming realm. I'm worried that there are already many enemies there. Ghost Wolf said worriedly as he stepped on the dimensional cave. Jiang Tian destroyed the Golden Crow 3 guards, killing until heads rolled and blood flowed like a river. Moreover, those who died were all great figures. It could be said to be the most serious provocation the Ruins Emperor Palace had ever received. How could Prince Chiu Ming in the Ruins Emperor Palace not be angry and take revenge? How many people do you think can kill me in the ruins of Deity right now? Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he asked leisurely. Chapter 1482. I'm afraid only soul formation grand cultivators can fight with you. Ghost Wolf told the truth. Jiang Tian could kill a half-soul formation cultivator with the heaven-severing sword. Of course, Jiang Tian would have to pay a price in blood. Even so, Jiang Tian was still able to fight with a real soul formation cultivator and at least stay alive. How many soul formation cultivators are there in the ruins of deity? Jiang Tian asked. There are at least 100 soul formation cultivators. There might be more if we count the old monsters who are hiding, Ghost Wolf said with a frown. There's nothing to be afraid of. We can run if we can't beat them. Jiang Tian chuckled and asked Qi Liqui to open the teleport array. Then the space vibrated violently. Under everyone's worried and reluctant gazes, Jiang Tian and the others turned into a few beams of light and disappeared into the sky. In the northern sea realm, thousands of miles were sealed in ice and snow drifted through the air. Jiang Tian appeared on a hidden teleport array. Immediately he felt a deep chill. This was a world of ice and snow. There was very little light, and vegetation was scarce. Everywhere was bare, and there was not much life to speak of. It gave people a feeling of desolation, as if there were no birds flying in the mountains, and no traces of humans. The air was cold. Jiang Tian took a deep breath, looked into the distance, and sighed. He sighed and said, "This world is the most destitute. I'm afraid they can only cultivate with spirit stones and there are very few spirit herbs. So, the cultivators here might not be as powerful as those of the Dragon Gate or the Yingzhou state. Because of that, Prince Qiuming will take it down quickly and form the most stable rule." Suddenly, Ghost Wolf let out a cry of alarm. "Master, there are already experts coming. Looks like Prince Qiuming has set up defenses and guessed that you might come from here." In fact, Jiang Tian had already noticed, so he didn't panic at all. He smiled and said, "I'll just deal with whatever comes my way. What's there to be afraid of?" Cheng Aojuan, Luo Changshan, Li Huaishan, Su Changqing and Yu Linzi are overlords of the war god list of the ruins of deity. "Nice to meet you, Kongtu." Swish, swish, swish. Several shocking figures soared across the sky like rainbows piercing through the sun. They were all like supersonic fighter jets, letting out loud rumbling sounds. Then they suddenly descended, revealing many powerful figures. They were either burning the sky like flames, flickering with silver light, shining with golden light, or surging with black tides. Every single one of them had an imposing aura that soared into the heavens. More than 20 prodigies of the god of war ranking flew across the sky and surrounded Jiang Tian. The top 5 on the god of war list. In addition, almost all the top 20 prodigies on the god of war list have appeared. Yao Yu Fairy's face turned pale as she exclaimed. If Long Shengnan, who was ranked 80th or even lower on the god of war list, saw them in the past, she would probably tremble in fear or turn into a little fangirl. These were the true peerless geniuses. Every one of them had learned something and had their own strengths. In the boundless ruins of immortality, the outstanding figures among the billions of cultivators were like stars in the night sky, so dazzling and eye-catching. Even the sect masters of the heavenly sects like Long Baxia and the realm lords of the second-level worlds had to be polite when they saw them. But now, things were different. No matter how powerful the overlords on the God of War list were, they were only elites selected by the Ruins Emperor Palace, the 9 Troops and Sky Palace. They had a chance to reach the soul formation level and become divine generals. But at this moment, they were all nascent soul cultivators. After all, they weren't real divine generals. And Jiang Tian, above the ancient demon abyss, even the 3 most powerful troops of the 9 troops had been killed. If these people came again, they would be killed. They're just a bunch of nascent soul cultivators. They want to kill Senior Taichu. Wu Shujian smiled and didn't say anything. He was full of confidence in Jiang Tian. "Why didn't you bring wine and food when you came to welcome me? Instead, you brought Dharma artifacts and Dharma treasures. I don't think you're sincere enough. You deserve to die," Jiang Tian said with a smile. "Senior Taichu, be careful. It might not be that simple. Only Ghost Wolf had a serious expression on his face. The elites led by Cheng Aojuan stood in the sky, but they didn't attack immediately. Instead, they stood there quietly, apparently waiting for the arrival of some big shot. A ship made of Dao Mark precious gold appeared out of thin air in the horizon and flew over. A 16 or 17-year-old boy with a golden crown on his head stood on the bow of the ship with his hands behind his back. His face was as clear as jade, and he had delicate features. Behind him stood a servant girl with a slightly dark face, holding a big black umbrella for him. Prince Chun Yu. Jiang Tian smiled. The young man stared at Jiang Tian and his eyes brightened. Kong Teichu of the solar system, I just came down from the ruins Emperor Palace and you can already call out my name. You're really powerful. Brother Qiuming underestimated you. That's why he was taken advantage of. Looks like Ghost Wolf and Wu Shujian have submitted to you? Yes, not only that. Numerous silver fish-like tiny flying swords appeared behind Wu Shujian's back. Wu Shujian sneered, took a step forward and said, My parents and brothers are still in the fertile earth realm. They're worried about your revenge. On this day next year, I'll visit your grave. Ghost Wolf didn't say a word, but his eyes were vicious. He pulled out the air-piercing blade that Jiang Tian had refined for him, ready to launch a thunderous attack at any time. You're quite determined to betray me. Prince Chun Yu waved his folding fan and said with a smile, It's not your fault. Anyone who meets someone as talented as fellow Cultivator Grand Primordium would admire and respect him. Prince Chun Yu, you're not as arrogant as the other people in the ruins of deity. You're able to see the strengths of others. I admire that very much. Jiang Tian smiled and said, But Prince Chun Yu didn't come here just to chat with me, right? If you have something to say it quickly and I'll send you to heaven. Brother Taichu, you sure talk big. You're indeed the strongest person in the solar system. Prince Chun Yu smiled and didn't get angry. He said, I'm here to negotiate with you on behalf of my master of the 100 Moon Academy. How do you want to negotiate? Jiang Tian asked. Divide the world and conquer it. Prince Chun Yu said indifferently. All the worlds you've obtained before, including the northern sea you're in now and the Penglai world you haven't reached, belong to you. You're the supreme ruler of these worlds. But you have to sign a divine soul contract with the Ruins Emperor Palace and be loyal to the Ruins Emperor Palace forever. What do you think? Not bad, right? If you want to talk, follow me to the 100 Moon Academy in the upper world. Nothing much. Jiang Tian said. What do you want? Prince Chun Yu looked surprised and his handsome face darkened. Everyone from the South Gate 1 star, including the Ruins Emperor, will leave the ruins of deity. Jiang Tian smiled and said, I won't punish you. You've bullied the mortal cultivators of the ancient deity land for tens of thousands of years. I'll also forgive you for repaying kindness with enmity and taking over your territory. After hearing that, everyone went silent. After a few flicks of a finger, a burst of laughter broke out. Did I get it wrong? Jiang Tian was confused and asked seriously, Didn't the ruins of deity land belong to the ruins of deity land? Could it be that the ruins of immortality wasn't originally called the deity land, and that the deity land didn't originally belong to us? All these years, weren't you the ones who took over the magpie's nest? Weren't you the ones who bullied and enslaved us? You're too arrogant, Cultivator Taichu. Prince Chun Yu still didn't get angry. He smiled warmly and gave people the feeling of a spring breeze. Why do people like you always like to be arrogant and look down on the princes of the royal family and the divine princes of the deity race? My background is better than yours. I was born in the imperial family. My knowledge is richer than yours, and my knowledge is broader than yours. I also have a vast amount of cultivation resources. I have soul formation cultivation arts at my fingertips, and I have the most brilliant teacher in the world, Mr. Headmaster. What do you have? Many elites shook their heads. That was indeed the case. Kong Teichu came from the barren solar system. Whatever inheritance he had already been cut off. Prince Chun Yu, on the other hand, was born in the imperial family. He joined the 100 Moons Academy's primary class when he was just 3 years old. The people who taught him cultivation were all soul formation grand cultivators and divine priests. He learned cultivation methods that resonated with the great Tao of heaven and earth. Jiang Taichu was no match for him in this aspect. For example, Prince Chunyu was a golden phoenix born in a golden nest, while Jiang Tian was a Chinese alligator born in a straw shed, a pig. What do I have? Jiang Tian smiled warmly and said, I have a head and 2 hands. I can twist your head off and kick it like a ball. How arrogant! Prince Chunyu burst into laughter and looked up at the sky with his hands behind his back. The sun was misty and he sighed. Do you think you're hardworking enough, or risking your life? That must be the case. Many people in the wilderness think they're better than others. But they don't know that I'm even more hardworking than you and have experienced 10 times or even 100 times crueler things. The most heartless ones are the royal family of the Emperor of the Heartless Empire. 18 generations of the royal family live in the ruins Emperor Palace, and there are many princes and emperors. Those who want to stand out have to go through a lot of bloodshed. Which one of us hasn't been through life and death situations? I was sent to the Een Demon Graveyard when I was 12 and fought with the Een Demons. 50 people went in with me and I was the only one who came out alive. What did you go through when you were 12? When I was 12, I was still in middle school. Apart from studying, I fought with a few classmates every day and sometimes played video games. Jiang Tian's face was as black as iron. If I tell you that I've been to the Central Galaxy, the deity realm and the divine realm, you'll be scared to death. Prince Chunyu burst into laughter again and shook his head. I was born better than you, I learned more than you, I'm more knowledgeable than you, I have more resources than you, and I'm also more hardworking than you. You want to kill me? What a joke. Jiang Tian said seriously, killing you isn't easy. But killing you is really not troublesome for me. In fact, I only need one move to kill you. If you don't believe me, you can ask Ghost Wolf and Wushu Jian. Chapter 1483. Ghost Wolf nodded solemnly and said, Prince Spring Rain, we don't kill envoys in a war. We can spare your life to report to Mr. Teacher and pass on Senior Grand Primordium's message. Wu Shujian was flustered and exasperated. How can we let him go? How can we not kill him? If news of our surrender spreads, my family in the fertile earth world will be in trouble. Prince Spring Rain cast a sidelong glance at the two of them and said in disdain, One of you is an outstanding talent in the 9 Guards of Ruins Emperor's Palace, while the other is a genius on the God of War list. I never expected you to become frogs in a well after descending to the lower bound. He looked at Jiang Tian solemnly and said, Tao friend Grand Primordium, I'm not boasting by telling you so much. It's the truth. It's laughable that you didn't treat the commoners of the lower bound as your savior. It was easy to imagine how short-sighted the ants and lowly races of the lower realms were. Why did you become our savior? Isn't it a great fortune for you to be a servant for us, the high and mighty gods and deities? I was ordered to descend to the lower bound to persuade you to surrender. I didn't bring so many geniuses with me to kill you. According to Mr. Teacher, I wanted you to see that our Ruins Emperor's Palace has so many talents that you can't even kill them all. The next moment, his expression turned cold. However, if you don't repent and refuse to surrender, I don't mind killing you. And the first one I'll kill will be you. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he said, The first one you'll kill is me? Who else do you want to kill? Ao Feng of the True Dragon lineage and Qi Jioi of Blue Parasol Palace. Prince Spring Rain placed his hands behind his back and said with arrogance in his eyes, My third brother, Prince Qiuming, even killed the dragon-rearing lineage of Billow World. Dragon-rearing sect once suppressed the dragons, phoenixes, and billions of demons. By right, the True Dragon lineage and the Phoenix lineage of Blue Parasol Palace, as well as the demons, should know how powerful we are. But it's still not enough. I want to kill. I want the ignorant commoners of Dragon Sect and Ingzhou World to know that the world masters and emperors in their eyes are nothing in the eyes of Ruins Emperor's Palace. They can be killed easily. Moreover, you have to kneel and die. Kneel and die in front of these commoners of the lower realm. The country bumpkin emperor of a tiny country does not know the grace of the heavens and the immensity of the earth. Naturally, we should destroy all his hopes and make him kneel and accept his death. Only these lowly commoners will know what the heavenly might is. Only then will they know fear. Only then will they bow their heads and submit to the heavenly might. Only then will they accept the status quo. They will not have excessive thoughts. They will not think about liberation or resistance. After Prince Spring Rain finished speaking, Qing Aojuan, Luo Changshan, Li Huaishan, Su Changqing and the other elites on the God of War roll nodded and applauded. This is the only way to demonstrate the might of the heavens. Your Highness is wise and mighty. To have Your Highness personally deal with the trivial matters of Below World is truly a waste of talent. Prince Chunyu was all smiles. He looked at Jiang Tian and said, Kong Teichu, do you dare to accept my challenge? Jiang Tian was about to agree when Ghost Wolf said nervously, Senior Taichu, there's no need to agree. Prince Spring Rain wouldn't put himself in danger easily. The many talents on the God of War list were only on the surface. There should be 1 or 2 warriors in the Soul Formation realm hiding in the battleship behind him to ensure his safety. Maybe they would secretly attack him. Let's run now and get what we want. There's no need to fight to the death. Do you think you can run away? What about me? I'll fight you head-on. Wu Shujian beat his chest and stomped his feet. What kind of suggestion is that? Jiang Tian and Ghost Wolf both controlled the laws of space and could escape into the dimension at any time, but he and Yao Yu Fairy didn't have that ability. They would only die when facing the siege of so many elites. That's right. Yan Hua, the 18th senior brother of the academy, is the 13th disciple of the headmaster of the academy. He's also a chancellor of the academy. This time, he's here to assist me and protect my safety. Prince Chunyu said leisurely. What? Grand Chancellor Yan Hua? Long Shengnan, Wu Shujian and Yao Yu Fairy were startled. This was a true divine transformation realm cultivator. His strength had reached an unimaginable level. Even if Jiang Tian were to fight against him, he would not have the confidence to win. My unparalleled sword art was personally taught by him. Wu Shujian murmured. They had all been taught by Yan Hua before. They had successfully formed the nascent soul and even entered the nascent soul level with Yan Hua's help. Jiang Taichu, this black-faced servant girl of mine, is also at the soul formation stage. Let's have our factions fight. You're not a match for us. We have 2 soul formation cultivators and you only have Ghost Wolf, a half soul formation cultivator. Trash like Wu Shujian can't withstand a single blow. Why don't we fight to determine the winner? If I win, you'll be obedient and surrender to me. If I lose? Prince Chunyu paused and snorted. I won't lose. At that moment, Wu Shujian and Long Shengnan both looked suspicious and frowned. There was a soul formation cultivator hiding in the warship, and not just any soul formation cultivator. It was Yan Hua. His power could be ranked in the top 10 in the academy. In the entire ruins of immortality, he could be ranked in the top 100. Compared to him, Shen Chang and Wu Huan were too far apart. Even if Jiang Tian won against Prince Chunyu, Yan Hua might not let Jiang Tian go. Or it could be said that to Jiang Tian, this was simply a bet that he would lose without a doubt. As long as Prince Chunyu was at a disadvantage, Yan Hua would immediately attack. Prince Chunyu obviously regarded Jiang Tian as his opponent in the trial. Ghost Wolf, don't worry. He's just a prince of the ruins Emperor's palace. I'll kill many more in the future and Prince Chunyu will be the first. I'll be back soon. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Be careful. Test him first. Don't use a killing move right away. Wait until you see through his path of law, then plan slowly. Ghost Wolf warned him worriedly. Prince Chunyu was born in the royal family. From the beginning, he had cultivated the highest level of cultivation method. It was a complete and flawless path of law that was compatible with heaven and earth. Ordinary cultivators had to reach the nascent soul realm to have any hope of touching the edge of the path of law. However, they were blessed by the heavens and had excellent conditions. Even when they were just born, there were deities and heavenly officials present the path of law for them to comprehend and touch. Therefore, not only did their cultivation speed increase by leaps and bounds, the path of law they had mastered was also extremely high-end. There were even more than one or two types of path of law. Jiang Tian nodded and extended his hand. Please. Alright. Prince Chun Yu stepped onto the warship and stood proudly in the air. His primordial chi aura suddenly erupted. Endless path of law roared and transformed into a huge iron blood flag above his head. The rolling path of law roared like the howling of the north wind. The iron blood flag fluttered in the wind, bringing with it a strong smell of blood. North wind banner of iron blood. Ghost Wolf was shocked. Is it very powerful? Wu Shujian was uneasy. North wind, iron blood, and path of law. 3 paths of law. What do you think? Ghost Wolf's face was solemn. That north wind isn't a normal cold wind. It's a cold wind driven by the path of law. A wisp of it can dry up the blood of a golden core perfected cultivator. The iron blood flag is as heavy as a mountain. A drop of it can crush the bones of a perfected cultivator. When the flag flutters in the wind, it has the ability to sweep away thousands of soldiers and cover the sky. This is a cultivation method created by the headmaster himself. During the Age of Dao damage, it once injured a soul formation heavenly master under Ao Huang. What do you think? Long Xingnan, Wu Shujian and Fairy Yao Yu were stunned. Rumor had it that there were 4 heavenly masters in Ao Huang's era. They were all ancient sages and had unpredictable abilities. They were extremely powerful and were far more powerful than the soul formation cultivators of today. However, this cultivation method could defeat a heavenly master. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 1484. If Taoist Grand Primordium is defeated, I'll use a spatial escape technique to bring him to a safe place. You have to hold back Prince Spring Rain and the others. Ghost Wolf's eyes twitched as he spoke. It's bad that you chose this teleportation array. Very bad. Wu Shujian did not respond, feeling extremely regretful. He did not expect the Ruins Emperor's Palace and 100 Moons Academy to react so quickly. He and Jiang Tian had been blocked by Yen Hua the moment they appeared. If it were not so fast, he could still inform his family to hide through the Billow world. Now that they were blocked, there was no way the Ruins Emperor's Palace would let his family go. Senior, don't worry. We will hold them back. Long Xingnan's fighting spirit surged as her eyes were resolute. Wu Shujian, it's useless even if you surrender now. I've been one of the 9 guards of the Ruins Emperor's Palace for so many years. How can I not know how they do things? Ghost Wolf urged. They would rather kill 1 billion innocents than let a single one go. Since you have the intention to rebel, they will eliminate you from the roots, leaving no one alive. If you want to protect your family, the only way is to hold them back and kill them all. We cannot let the news of your surrender spread to the ruins of immortality and the fertile earth world. I got it. You're so annoying. Wu Shujian huffed angrily. At that moment, he realized that Cheng Aojuan and the other peerless geniuses were already looking at him with ill intentions, as though he was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. They were communicating with their divine senses, exchanging thousands of words in an instant. And at that moment, Prince Spring Rain had already made his move. Blood dyed the sky. Within a 10-mile radius, the crystalline snowflakes reflected a gorgeous blood-red light, as though they were carved from agate. The north wind whistled. On the continuous mountain range, the snow and ice that were dozens of meters deep disintegrated inch by inch as if they were swept by a peerless heavenly sword. Huge gullies appeared one after another, revealing the dark brown mountain rocks in the depths. Even the sturdy mountain rocks had terrifying marks on them. Prince Spring Rain raised his jade-white finger and pointed in the air. A blood-red flag fell from the sky, blocking everyone's vision. Countless resplendent blood-red beams shot out from the flag like a tide, drowning Jiang Tian. Just one beam of blood-red light could kill a golden core and severely injure a nascent soul. So powerful. With 3 types of supreme laws converging, I'm afraid this Kong Teichu won't be able to last more than 3 flicks of his fingers. Once Kong Teichu dies, we will immediately swarm forward and capture the 2 traitors, Wu Shujian and Ghost Wolf. The ruins Emperor's Palace and the Academy will definitely reward us handsomely. At this time, Qing Aojuan and the others were shocked beyond words. Then, they rubbed their palms together and stared maliciously at Ghost Wolf and Wu Shujian, overflowing with killing intent. Prince Chunyu wanted to make a name for himself by killing the bandit leader Kong Teichu, so they wouldn't have a chance to snatch the beauty. However, Ghost Wolf and Wu Shujian had already become food on their plates. At this moment, a dazzling golden saber light, like the sun piercing through the sky, broke through the surging blood-red light, tore through the howling north wind, and pierced through the iron and blood flag. In the next moment, it arrived at Prince Spring Rain's neck. What? Prince Chunyu was shocked. He performed the attainment formula of the art of the 9 heavens and retreated 100 miles as fast as a flash of light. The saber light slashed across the place where he had been standing a moment ago, destroying the space and turning it into a chaotic hole. At this moment, the space behind him was silently torn open. A figure appeared, and the gung metal divine saber slashed out again like mercury flowing down the ground. Prince Spring Rain turned pale with fright. He didn't expect Jiang Tian's speed to be so fast. He was like a maggot in a tarsal bone. The iron and blood flag in the sky covered him, sweeping him up and tearing through the air. Just as the flag swept Prince Spring Rain up, Jiang Tian changed his move. He pointed out a finger, and beams of dazzling and sharp sword light pierced towards Prince Spring Rain. However, these dazzling sword lights were crushed and broken by the north wind law created by the iron blood flag. Then, the flag successfully picked up Prince Spring Rain and flew toward the battleship. Jiang Tian's sword light was formed by the art of gung metal, but it was crushed. Even if Jiang Tian didn't use his full strength, it was enough to show the brilliance of Prince Spring Rain's art of north wind. The iron and blood flag brought Prince Spring Rain to the warship 100 miles away. It was so fast that even nascent soul heavenly lords couldn't catch it with their eyes and immortal senses. Jiang Tian's Kunpeng was already extremely fast. However, Prince Chunyu's Xingzi heavenly art was also a secret technique of the 100 Moons Academy. Coupled with the north wind law, it was able to break through space, so its speed didn't slow down by much. Many of the prodigies on the God of War list cheered, as expected of the headmaster's personal disciple. Even Ghost Wolf, who had the Dark Crow's bloodline, was shocked. Bing. Do. By. Shin. Attainment. The 9 most powerful heavenly arts of the Ruins Emperor's lineage. This attainment heavenly art is the limit of speed in the world. It's indeed extraordinary. As soon as the iron and blood flag landed, it immediately unfurled. Countless small flying swords flew out of the iron and blood flag. They became bigger in the wind and pierced towards Jiang Tian, who was chasing after him. Jiang Tian raised his hand and a giant Suzaku wing appeared behind him. It carried an extremely terrifying heat and swept towards the thousands of flying swords like a heavenly blade. Clanging sounds rang out incessantly as those flying swords were struck and melted by the vermilion bird firewing. In the blink of an eye, they transformed into a treasured sword that flowed like liquid metal and fell into Jiang Tian's hand. Jiang Tian sent the sword into the sky-devouring demon gourd. He then took out an incense stick from the gourd and blew on it, lighting it up. The incense stick gave out green smoke and flew towards the iron and blood flag, inserting itself into the hole. Prince Spring Rain, now you know my laws, right? Jiang Tian said calmly. Take this incense stick first. On this day next year, I'll pay respects to your grave. The iron and blood flag slowly dissipated. That was the appearance of the dissipation of laws, revealing Prince Spring Rain. However, he had already been burnt to a crisp. Even his body and nascent soul had lost their vitality. The entire place was dead silent. No one could make a single sound. The atmosphere was so oppressive that it was suffocating. Ghost Wolf, Wu Shujian, Long Shengnan, and Fairy Yao, you were still in shock. Even the guests from the Ruins Emperor's Palace and the geniuses on the God of War list were still in shock. It was just one move. Ghost Wolf's face was as pale as paper. He didn't even notice when Jiang Tian killed him. The shock in his heart was imaginable. He killed Prince Spring Rain, a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator, with just one move. Prince Spring Rain cultivated soul formation level laws. His nascent soul was comparable to an ordinary soul formation cultivator. Prince Spring Rain is dead? Cheng Aojuan, Luo Changxing, Li Huaishan, and the other geniuses widened their eyes. Their voices were trembling in disbelief. Prince Spring Rain might not be the strongest among the 18 generations of the Ruins Emperor's royal family, but he was definitely the most talented. Otherwise, he wouldn't have contacted 100 Moon Academy on behalf of the Ruins Emperor's palace. Prince Qiu Ming and Prince Xiahe were extremely talented, but one of them contacted the Golden Crow and the other 9 guards, while the other contacted Sky Palace. Their positions weren't as important as his. One had to know that all the laws and great Daos in the world originated from 100 Moon Academy. The princes who contacted 100 Moon Academy all eventually became the Emperor of the Ruins Emperor's palace. You killed a prince. You killed Prince Spring Rain? Suddenly, the black-faced maidservant standing at the bow of the ship trembled as she shouted. Blood spurted out from the corner of her mouth. The great Liang dragon sparrow sword in her hand shattered into countless pieces. The fragments flew in the air like silver butterflies before landing on the ground. Only then did everyone realize what had happened. The maidservant named Jiang and I, who had been praised by the sword god of the Ruins Emperor's palace as having a sword intent as boundless as the Ruins Emperor's imperial concubine, was actually the soul formation realm maidservant of the Western Liang world's Princess Taiping, who had been suppressed by the ruins of immortality. She had also rushed to Prince Spring Rain's rescue. Even her quasi-Dao artifact, the great Liang dragon sparrow sword, had expended all her dermic powers and shattered. However, it didn't change the fact that Prince Spring Rain had been killed. Chapter 1485. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Jiang and I, Yanhua, right? If I don't kill him, am I supposed to let myself be killed? Don't even think about finding his divine soul. I've always been a ruthless person. Prince Chun Yu's soul has already been destroyed. Boom. The air trembled. A young man in an old black robe and a strange hat walked out of the battleship. His eyes were as sharp as knives. The power of a soul formation overlord spread out, crushing and annihilating everything. Kong Teichu, how dare you? You even dare to kill a prince? Yan Huan's eyebrows twitched as he shouted angrily. Senior! Grand Chancellor! At that moment, Cheng Aojuan, Luo Changxin, and many other geniuses showed respect and fear. They bowed deeply with their fists clasped, showing the highest respect. Yan Hua was extremely talented and had a brilliant record. Hundreds of years ago, he had reached the nascent soul level when he was only in his 50s. He was the top of the God of War list of his generation and shocked the world. In the Battle of Verdant Canyon, he had once killed dozens of nascent soul overlords from the Hell Assassin dynasty who were rebelling against the ruins of immortality with a long sword. He was born in the remote grassland. It was his outstanding performance that made the headmaster exclaim that everyone can become a talent. He set the standard for the academy to educate everyone regardless of background. From then on, the 100 Moon Academy and the Emperor of Ruins Palace began to select talents and geniuses from the lower world to be trained in the 100 Moon Academy. Later, he took up a teaching position in the 100 Moon Academy. He had once touched 10 kinds of laws and successfully mastered 4, which gave the headmaster great inspiration. They worked together to create the Dian Tao Law. With this Tao Law, one could stimulate one's potential and be completely enlightened. One could control billions of laws and be infinitely close to the Great Way, greatly increasing the chances of reaching the nascent soul formation level. What's the big deal about killing a prince? There's nothing in this world that I don't dare to kill. I'll kill anyone who stands in my way, including the Emperor of Ruins. Jiang Tian's face was calm as he laughed mockingly. You're courting death. Yan Hua roared and unleashed his power with Jiang and I. At the same time, they rushed toward Jiang Tian. Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium, retreat first. Ghost Wolf and Long Xingnan rushed forward at the same time, blocking the two. Fight. Kill the fuck. Nothing more. At first, Wu Shujian revealed a look of deep fear. He took 3 steps back until he was 30 miles away. In the end, he stomped his foot and gritted his teeth. When the absolute beginning senior comes to the fertile earth world, remember to inform the Wu family to hide. Don't let them find us. Looks like we can only fight. Fairy Yao Yu shouted and waved her hand. A red silk appeared in her hand. She wanted to help as well. Don't worry, none of them will be able to leave. At this moment, Jiang Tian summoned the absolute heaven sword and roared. No. The weapon in his hand surpasses a Dao item. Retreat. Yan Hua's heart skipped a beat when she felt a terrifying aura erupting like a tidal wave. She immediately took a step back and turned around to return to the warship. The other geniuses, including Jiang and I, flew onto the battleship. Yan Hua shouted, Wu Shujian, you were once my disciple. Get on the battleship now. I can stop Kong Teichu. Grand Chancellor. Wu Shujian knelt on the snow and bowed. After today, Grand Chancellor Yen no longer has me as a disciple. I thank you for your kindness. If we meet again in the future, I'm afraid we'll have to fight. There's no need to worry about your family head. I'll let the fertile earth world capture them, but I won't kill them. Yan Hua was stunned. She suddenly pulled out her sword, cut off her sleeve and threw it into the snow. She sighed and said, This is the last thing I can do for you. The battleship left quickly. On the battleship, Cheng Aojuan asked carefully, Grand Chancellor, Wu Shujian. Yan Huan's face was dark. He looked at his empty sleeve and a cold pain seemed to come from his arm. It was as if his arm had been cut off. The pain was heart-wrenching. He closed his eyes and suddenly opened them again. He said softly, Wu Shujian wants to walk his own path. However, this path is not to walk with us but to go in the opposite direction. I thought he would be like all of you and become the right-hand man of the Ruins Emperor and the headmaster. I didn't expect that, when we meet him in the future, we'll have to fight him to the death and show no mercy. Although he entered Dao with the sword and had a demonic barrier, I think he has broken through a lot of it. In the future, he will have a fearless heart and his abilities will be stronger. He might even surpass all of you. His achievements in the future will be extraordinary. Cheng Aojuan, Li Huaishan and the rest were in disbelief. Wu Shujian was originally ranked 20th on the God of War list. His talent and abilities were far inferior to theirs. However, he could break through his demonic barrier and soar into the sky, leaving them behind. Kong Teichu wants to invade this world. What should we do? Should we summon the elites of the academy to fight them, or? Cheng Aojuan asked. Retreat. Yan Hua's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. He has a peerless sword that surpasses a Dao weapon. Its lethality can severely injure a soul formation cultivator. We can't stop him. Surpasses a Dao weapon? Cheng Aojuan didn't panic. Instead, he quickly found Jiang Tian's loophole. He said, Kong Teichu is a nascent soul cultivator and a half-soul formation cultivator. However, even a half-soul formation cultivator would suffer a certain amount of backlash if he uses a Dao weapon, not to mention someone stronger. That also means he can't fight against multiple soul formation cultivators. You're right. A look of admiration appeared on Yan Hua's face. Such a weapon shouldn't belong to our dimension. It must have come from a more advanced civilization. I heard that he was indeed so tired that he vomited blood and was seriously injured when he killed Shen Chang above the ancient demon abyss. However, I didn't expect him to recover so quickly. There was coldness in his eyes and he said coldly, So, my plan is to set up defenses in the Hylon world. We'll gather all the soul formation cultivators of the 100 Moon Academy and kill him in one attack. Then, won't the people in the North Sea be plunged into misery and suffering? Won't Kong Teichu do whatever he wants? Jiang and I couldn't bear it. She glanced around and said, The Western Liang world was a dimension under the Western Desert. It was on par with the Jade Lake world and considered itself the descendant of the Queen Mother of the West. 30 years ago, it had rebelled against the ruins of deities. Later, it was easily suppressed by the Disciple Army, led by Prince Chunyu. Jiang Ni's father and brother died in the war. Jiang and I became the princess of a subjugated country and became Prince Chunyu's prisoner. However, she had been abused and loved by Prince Spring Rain for too long. She had gradually become a hostage, and had long forgotten about revenge. It's inevitable that people will die in war. Yen Hua put on a weathered expression and said, "We're retreating today because we want to make great strides forward in the future. There aren't any spiritual herbs or spiritual medicines in this savage land. What can Jiang Taichu do?" Chapter 1486. Bush. Jiang Tian turned into a rainbow that pierced through the sky like a few supersonic fighter jets. He tore through the wind and snow, making a loud roar as he advanced towards the Xianming Grotto heaven. "Aren't we going after them?" Yao Yu Fairy was puzzled. "No." Jiang Tian didn't stop and said indifferently, he said calmly, "There are 2 soul formation cultivators. It's not that easy to kill them. Even if we can kill them, it'll be a great burden on me. They'll guard against them and we'll kill them. It's not the time for the final battle yet. Everyone is accumulating their strength." "What city is this?" Jiang Tian suddenly stopped and asked. It was a huge city with a radius of 100 miles. It was built on top of glaciers and mountains as if it was floating in the clouds. It was still 1,000 miles away, but it was already in sight. In the howling wind and snow, the snow-covered buildings were majestic and as stable as rocks. The wide streets were full of traffic. Outside the city, there were super battleships patrolling the sky like a flood of steel. There were also peerless, ferocious birds flying in the lead clouds, letting out whistling sounds. It was a combination of technology and cultivation. Long Xingnan was very familiar with this world. She quickly bowed and reported, "The top 3 cities in this world are controlled by the Juefeng family. The Juefeng family is proficient in cold wind cultivation arts and is very powerful. They are also relatives of the emperor. A daughter of the Juefeng family once married a descendant of the Ruins Emperor. Winterfell is supported by the Ruins Emperor's palace and is also a very large and loyal force. Although there hasn't been a nascent soul heavenly lord like the North Sea Saber Emperor, there are at least dozens of Golden Core heavenly lords." Ghost Wolf added from the side. "The roots of the Ruins Emperor's palace? We have to destroy them." Jiang Tian laughed sinisterly. His body flashed as he flew towards Winterfell. At the same time, in the meeting hall of the City Lord Mansion in Winterfell. It was dazzling and majestic. Inside the palace, there was an everlasting lamp burning. Among them was a burning blue stone. Green smoke rose in spirals and coiled around the palace, not dissipating for a long time. It was a green sandalwood stone that would release a strange fragrance when burned. It had the effect of concentrating the mind and calming the heart, and it was a necessary item for cultivation. However, the price of this item wasn't low. The fact that it could be used as fuel was sufficient to show that the owner of this place had quite the status. Inside the giant bronze cauldrons, the charcoal heads of the smokeless beasts were burning red, emitting traces of warmth, making the large meeting hall as warm as spring. On the ice throne on the high platform sat a tall girl who was about 1.7 meters tall. She was wearing a sable skin suit and looked delicate and pretty. She was the current Winterfell dungeon lord, Gale Mist. She was a genius. She was only in her 30s, but she had already reached the Golden Core perfected stage and was not far from forming the nascent soul. Many people thought that she was on par with Princess Li Qi of the Ingzhou world and Princess Ao Jiao of the Dragon Gate. Below the platform, dozens of Golden Core perfected cultivators stood respectfully. All of them looked nervous as if they were facing a formidable enemy. "I heard that the demon Kang Teichu has already taken over the Ingzhou world. I'm afraid that he will soon encroach on the Northern Ocean world. Winterfell has to be careful." Gale Mist frowned and said worriedly, "My lord, our 108 city defense arrays have been activated. They are impregnable. These city defense arrays were created by the array grandmasters of the Ruins of Deity and can withstand the attack of a soul formation cultivator. Even if Kang Teichu is here, he might not be able to open them." A general in golden heavy armor stepped forward and said confidently. This general in golden armor had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. He was tall and strong and was Gale Mist's brother, Gale Fengrui. He was already at the 7th level Golden Core level. Brother, it's not enough. You don't know how powerful Kong Tae-chu is. I heard that he killed more than 20 nascent soul heavenly lords on the 18 islands of the Dragon Gate. Even the famous North Sea Blade Emperor was killed by him with a flick of his finger. He even captured the princess of the Dragon Gate, Long Shingen. Gale Mist looked desperate and said with red eyes. According to the secret report, a month ago he killed 100,000 Golden Core cultivators, a few hundred nascent soul cultivators and more than 20 half-soul formation cultivators in the ancient demon abyss. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell into dead silence. Everyone was trembling in fear. Many of them were as pale as paper and panicked as if they had seen a demon. That's terrifying. He killed 100,000 Golden Core cultivators alone. Is he still human? He's a demon god from hell. After a while, someone exclaimed and broke the silence. Is this the day of Winterfell's destruction? A civil servant shivered in fear as he sat on the ground, tears streaming down his face. Besides, this person is extremely cruel and evil. He's infamous in the Ingzhou and Dragon Gate world. He can even stop children from crying at night. Gale Mist's eyes were filled with tears and she looked pitiful. She said with a trembling voice, I heard that he likes to tear human flesh and drink the blood of cultivators. Someone saw him devouring the flesh and essence of 100,000 Golden Core cultivators and a few hundred nascent soul cultivators above the ancient demon abyss and turned them into his own power. Kong Tae-chu is so cruel. He's eating his own kind. Disgusting. Despicable. He's worse than a bandit. He's a bandit among bandits. Demon. What a devil. He's a demon among demons. What kind of sin has our northern sea committed that we have to encounter such a monster, causing countless lives to be lost and suffering from the flames of war? Below the stage, countless Golden Core perfected cultivators sighed as if they were grieving for their parents. A while ago, Prince Chun Yu brought Jiang and I and many elites of the God of War list to the Xianming Grotto heaven in our world. They must be there to suppress Kong Tae-chu. Zhu Fengrui frowned and comforted everyone. Prince Chun Yu has always been accompanied by Yen Hua, the Grand Chancellor of the 100 Moons Academy. With their strength, they should be able to suppress Kong Tae-chu. Is that true? Everyone was overjoyed when they heard that. In their eyes, Prince Chun Yu, the prodigy on the God of War list, and Grand Chancellor Yen Hua were like gods who could protect them. At this moment, a figure flew in and everyone was shocked. They released their Dharma powers and took out their Dharma treasures. They said coldly, "Who dares to enter the city lord residence?" Psst. Brother Yulinzi. Gale Mist looked at the person with tears in her eyes as if she had seen her savior. Yulinzi. He's in the top 10 of the God of War list and the top genius of our world. Everyone looked at the person with respect. They retracted their Dharma powers and put away their Dharma treasures before kneeling on the ground. Yulinzi. He was originally the son of a fisherman in this world. His family sold fish at the Hubu Alley in Winterfell. He was very sensible when he was young and helped out there. He was a lowly mortal. He smelled of fish and his skin was covered with fish scales. Everyone looked down on him and he was often beaten and scolded. Gale Mist was very active when she was young. She often went to his fish stall with the kitchen maids. She didn't mind that he was dirty and would even bring him delicious snacks and sweets. Don't worry. One day, I will become a hero. I will wear golden armor and step on colorful clouds to marry you. That day, Yulinzi was 18 years old. Because his bloodline was accidentally activated, he was taken away by the cultivators of the 100 Moons Academy who came to the lower world to select disciples. Now, seeing that Yulinzi had really returned and that his cultivation had reached nascent soul level 3, he had become a handsome young man. Brother Yulinzi, you're finally back. You didn't forget your promise. Gale Mist was very excited and happy. She couldn't help but jump into Yulinzi's arms and hug him tightly. Her heart was almost drunk. Yes, Sister Lan. I said that one day, I will succeed in my studies and come back to marry you. Yulinzi patted her frail shoulders and said in a gentle yet deep voice, Don't worry. Kong Taechu has already attacked this world. However, don't worry. He's nothing special and there's nothing to be afraid of. I will protect you in Winterfell. This is the place where I was born and raised. I will fight to the end. Chapter 1487. In fact, he had disobeyed orders and returned. According to Yen Hua's suggestion, he was an elite genius, a paragon and monster incarnate that the Ruins Emperor valued highly. As the saying went, good steel should be used on the blade. He should definitely not die in battle to protect a few ants from the lower world. Instead, he should return to the ruins of immortality and preserve his strength. However, Yu Qilin's words convinced Yen Hua. Grand Chancellor Yen Hua, if your hometown is attacked by bandits one day and your parents and siblings are about to die, will you sit back and do nothing? Your Excellency Yu Qilin, you disregarded your safety and kept your promise to return to protect the hometown of a beauty. That's a good story. After hearing Yu Qilin's narration, a scholarly cultivator clapped in admiration and praised. Kong Taechu only has one nose and two eyes. He doesn't have 3 heads and 6 arms. What's there to be afraid of? As long as we unite and work together, we might be able to defeat a bandit fiend like Kong Taechu. Everyone nodded in agreement. They felt that as long as Yu Qilin returned, everything would be stable. At that moment, high in the skies, suddenly, there was a burst of creepy laughter, followed by a cold voice. "Ha, who said that I have 1 nose and 2 eyes? Why can't I have 3 heads and 6 arms?" Immediately after, the voice was unruly and filled with a bandit and fiendish nature. It rumbled down like thunder and caused the sun and moon to turn upside down. The world was in chaos and everything was destroyed. The ground quaked and the palace shook as though it was about to split open on the spot. "Are you guys here to die together? Then I, Kong Taechu, will fulfill your wishes. Get out here. Today I, Kong Taechu, will send all of you to the afterlife." Kong Taechu is here. Everyone was shocked. Everyone was scared out of their wits. Zhu Fenglan hollered coldly, "Activate the city protection formation." Following her order, a series of powerful formations rumbled and activated. The city that was towering above the glacier seemed to have suddenly awakened. Layers of massive Dharma formations unfolded outside Winterfell like flowers blooming. Green light spewed and black light surged like a tide as godly beasts roared. Countless strange phenomena appeared. The splendid landscape, the grand sun, the black pythons swallowing the sky. Each level represented a powerful Dharma array. Bang bang bang. The Black Rock city of the Ingzhou world had dozens of formations and was known to be impregnable. Winterfell had more than 100 mana formations. Every single one of these arrays had been created by a top array master from the ruins of immortality, which had cost the Juefeng family countless resources. Any nascent soul cultivator would find it difficult to deal with a single layer of formation. Even if they used all of their strength, they might not be able to break it. What's more, now that there were over 100 overlapping arrays. However, Jiang Tian's expression was indifferent, and there was no joy nor sorrow in his eyes. Hundreds of formations set up by grandmasters were nothing in his eyes. He lifted his foot and was about to step into Winterfell. "Fellow Taoist, please stop." A gust of strong wind flew out of Winterfell and transformed into a black-clothed elder. The elder was tall and had a thin face. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's, and his aura was like a tiger's. He was the head of the Juefeng family, Juefeng Huang. Back then, he was someone who was on par with the North Sea Saber Emperor. He was a half-step nascent soul cultivator and was not much weaker than him. At that moment, the family head said with a solemn expression, "The Juefeng family has no enmity with us. My Ju Feng clan has no enmity with fellow Taoist. Why did fellow Taoist come here? Do you think my Feng clan is easy to bully?" Jiang Tian said, "No enmity now, but it doesn't mean that there will be no enmity in the future. I want to kill the Ruins Emperor. The Juefeng family is a relative of the Ruins Emperor's palace. How can I be at ease?" "Fellow Taoist, how can I be at ease?" Juefeng Huang asked. Jiang Tian said indifferently, I want to enter Winterfell and rest for a while. We can interact and understand each other more. When I feel at ease, I will naturally leave. Deactivate the array formation and let me in. The people of my city are poor and barren. They are like a vast pond that cannot contain a giant whale. Fellow Taoist, there is nothing you cannot do. You should choose another path. Juefeng Huang rejected him politely. He looked sincere and sincere. My guess is indeed correct. You clearly have a backup plan by not letting me enter the city. When the experts of the Ruins Emperor's Palace come again, you will probably stab me in the back. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes. This is definitely a misunderstanding. It must be some despicable person who wants to frame my Feng family. Juefeng Huang's expression turned solemn as he said firmly. Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium is wise and farsighted. You must not fall for the despicable person's trap and make your enemies happy. After all that talk, you still have a backup plan. Today, I want to enter the city. You have to agree whether you want to or not. You still have a choice. Announce to the world that you have severed ties with the Ruins Emperor's Palace and pledge your loyalty to me. Then I will spare your life. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently as he took a step forward. An azure gold light screen spread out beneath his feet like a path of light that led straight to Winterfell. Immediately, it triggered a reaction from the layers of array formations. Fellow Taoist, what do you mean? Are you trying to barge into my Winterfell? Juefeng Huang's expression turned cold as he said sinisterly, Kong Teichu, don't blame me for not reminding you. My Juefeng family has been undefeated for 10,000 years. We are deeply favored by His Majesty, the Ruins Emperor. The depth of our heritage is far beyond what a late-stage talent like you can imagine. We will not interfere in the conflict between you and the Ruins Emperor. Watching from the sidelines is already the greatest concession I can make. However, you insist that we pose a threat to you. All of this is a scheme of despicable people. They want to instigate a conflict between us so that they can reap the benefits. Having said that, he glared venomously at Ghost Wolf before retracting his gaze and saying coldly, Fellow Taoist, both of us will be safe. If not, don't blame my Juefeng family for being infuriated. When the time comes, so what if you are a soul formation cultivator? You will be pulverized. Boom. Following Juefeng Huang's words, in Winterfell, there was a surge of powerful aura. These auras were the fluctuations of formations. Each of them was extremely powerful, far beyond that of a nascent soul cultivator. The pressure caused all living beings within a 500-kilometer radius to kneel on the ground and tremble. Winterfell was densely packed with countless figures. Countless experts and killing formations were unleashed in the city, waiting for Jiang Tian's arrival. Noisy! Jiang Tian snorted and flicked his finger. Juefeng Huang's figure instantly exploded in the air. Kongdichu, how dare you? A furious roar suddenly came from Winterfell. Deep in the ancestral land of the Juefeng family, Juefeng Huang, who was facing a water mirror, was livid. Although it was only one of his clones outside, for Jiang Tian to explode in front of everyone like this was undoubtedly trampling all over the face of the Feng clan's patriarch. Next, Jiang Tian took a step forward and arrived in the sky above Winterfell. His eyes shone and his aura shook the sky. The shocking battle of one man against an entire city had finally begun. Outside Winterfell, countless cultivators were watching. Not only the local sects and families of Winterfell, but the entire Northern Sea, the big families, sects, the Xianming Grotto Heaven and the North Sea Sword Emperor's bloodline all looked over. One man against an entire city. Is Kong Teichu really that confident that he can destroy our defensive formation? The general guarding the city, Juefeng Rui, was flustered and exasperated. Brother Yulinzi, what should we do? Juefeng Lan's beautiful face was filled with panic and her face was pale. Winterfell has a deep foundation. The divine craftsmen of the ruins of immortality have been in Winterfell for tens of thousands of years and set up countless foundations and formations. Although I don't know how this kid's cultivation has skyrocketed and he's unbelievably powerful and even killed many half-step soul formation cultivators, it won't be that easy to destroy this city. Yu Linzi's face was solemn and then he said confidently, Don't worry. If the city really can't stop him, I'll take you away. Kong Taechu won't be able to stop me. If Kong Taechu wants to destroy Winterfell, he'll expend a lot of resources. I'm afraid he'll use that peerless sword. By then he'll have exhausted his old strength and hasn't recovered his new strength. It'll be the time for us to kill him. In the sky thousands of miles away, a few nascent soul elders of the Xianming Grotto heaven appeared on the leaden clouds. Their eyes were as sinister as hawks as they discussed and secretly plotted the best time to attack Jiang Tian. Kong Taechu and Winterfell will suffer great losses. By then, it'll be the best time for us to avenge the Sword Emperor. Some of the stubborn disciples among the North Sea Saber Emperor's successors were still dreaming of killing Jiang Tian and making a name for themselves. They were dreaming of being rewarded by the ruins Emperor's palace. Chapter 1488. As for Jiang Tian, who had reached the peak of Winterfell, he did not think so. He lowered his head and looked at the city that seemed to be above the clouds. His eyes were devoid of joy or sorrow. Kong Taechu, if you retreat, I won't pursue your disrespectful behavior. We will mind our own business. Otherwise, don't blame me for activating my heritage and awakening the patriarchs to show you the might of Winterfell. Absolute Wind Wilderness continued his voice transmission. You only have two options now. One is to open the gates and let me enter the city. Treat me well with good wine and meat. The other is to announce to the world that you have severed ties with the ruins emperor. Jiang Tian said calmly. Bastard. Presumptuous. Dream on. A lowly ant dares to rebel against the ruins emperor. Ignorant bandit. You don't know your place. Angry roars sounded from Winterfell. Immediately following that, a black dragon roared, a sun soared across the sky, and a nethergale howled. Jiang Tian's vision instantly turned pitch black. The world turned dark as though the sun and moon had reversed. It was chaos. There were also countless black winds that seemed to blow from the depths of the underworld. They were like blades as they danced and roared, tearing everything apart. Jiang Tian knew that this was the activation of Winterfell's defensive array. Most likely, with Winterfell as the center, a radius of hundreds of kilometers was enveloped by the array formation. Ordinary golden core cultivators would not even last a second before they were torn to shreds by the array formation's powers. However, Jiang Tian wasn't afraid at all. He stood there, emitting a golden light that spanned 30 feet. All the nethergale and blades dissipated when they came in front of him. Do you think I can't do anything to you with this tortoise shell? Jiang Tian sneered. Forget it. Today, I'll show you what a mere array formation is in front of absolute power. With that said, Jiang Tian extended his hand and grabbed at the distance. Boom! Under the shocked gazes of countless people, a huge mountain rose from the ground and flew to the sky above Winterfell. It was like a meteor falling from the heavens as it smashed down from the sky. This? Zhu Fenglan, Zhu Fengrui, and other important people in the city all raised their heads in shock. 10,000 feet was equivalent to dozens of miles. It was a mountain that was dozens of miles tall, even taller than several Mount Everest. Jiang Tian's grab had uprooted several Mount Everest and then smashed them down. How terrifying was that power? How shocking was its destructive power? It was no less than an asteroid crashing into Earth. It could simply destroy the world. Boom! The massive mountain crashed into Winterfell. Immediately, numerous formations were activated. He saw the fire phoenix cry, the sword chi soar into the sky, and the black dragon swallow the sun. Under the terrifying power of the formation, the huge mountain was forcefully stopped and quickly collapsed. However, Jiang Tian wasn't done yet. With a series of low growls, Jiang Tian reached out and grabbed. The second one. The third one. The fourth one. Jiang Tian was like a god in the legends, possessing boundless divine power. As soon as he reached out his hand, a gigantic mountain weighing hundreds of millions of tons was lifted and smashed down with a rumble. In a blink, Jiang Tian had lifted over 100 mountains and Winterfell was hit more than 100 times. Bang bang bang. The collisions were fiercer than the previous one. Even though the Dharma array of Winterfell was said to be able to withstand hundreds of attacks from a nascent soul heavenly lord and a few from a soul formation cultivator, it couldn't withstand such a head-on collision. Jiang Tian was suppressing his opponent with brute force. He didn't talk about breaking the Dharma array or anything like that. Not even a nascent soul heavenly lord would be able to withstand the attacks of hundreds of mountains. Normal golden core cultivators would have already been crushed. The power of a heavenly lord. This is the real power of a heavenly lord. Countless onlookers were shocked. Even though golden core cultivators were said to be able to control the essence chi in a 100-mile radius. However, it would be difficult to lift a mountain that was tens of thousands of feet high. For someone like Jiang Tian, casually tossing 100 mountains to smash someone, that was even more shocking. Crackle, crackle. In the sky above Winterfell, the layers of formations were crushed by this unreasonable force. After 100 mountains, only 1/3 of the Dharma array of Winterfell was left. Phew! Just as Gale Baron and the others were about to heave a sigh of relief, Jiang Tian clenched his fist and punched from afar. The mountains before were just an appetizer. This is my real attack. When he punched, there wasn't the slightest fluctuation. But the further it went, the more powerful it became. In the end, the heavens and the mountains shook. There was only a giant fist 100 miles large left in the sky. That fist filled the universe and covered thousands of miles, as if it could crush everything. Bang! Winterfell was like an egg under a hammer. It didn't even withstand a snap of the fingers. Countless Dharma arrays were shattered. In the end, the entire ancient city was crushed like a castle on the beach. None of the cultivators in the city survived, including Gale Baron and the other important members of the Gale family. They were all reduced to dust. Seeing this scene, all the spectators were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. How is this possible? Countless creatures gaped in astonishment as they watched Winterfell disappear like a sand painting in the wind. A huge city that spanned 100 miles, dozens of Dharma array grandmasters set up Dharma arrays, and countless Feng family cultivators were reduced to dust by this attack. The ground was empty. There was only the howling of the wind and the falling snow. It was as if a deity had erased it from the world. All of Winterfell and the cultivators in it had disappeared. All that was left was a huge, towering fist print that was like a lake. Heavenly might strike, heavenly might strike. Many people murmured. Only Ghost Wolf laughed sinisterly and said disdainfully, Kong Taechu can even destroy the mothership of the 3 golden crows. No matter how strong Winterfell is, can it be stronger than the 3 golden crows' mothership? What a joke! What he said was true. The 3 golden crows were the personal guards of the Ruins Emperor's palace and were extremely important. Just like the Jingji garrison army, Winterfell was at best a small armed force of a county city. There were only a few big cats and small cats. How could this be compared? The manpower and resources invested, the treasures expended, the array craftsmen, and the level of the array patterns and runes used could not be compared at all. However, he also understood the Gale family's stubborn resistance. Their prejudices were deeply ingrained in their bones. They were too prejudiced. Take Ghost Wolf, for example. He had not fought to the end and was not driven to despair by Jiang Tian. He had always believed that Jiang Tian was just a cultivator from a peripheral planet and did not have much ability. At that moment, the descendants of the North Sea Saber Sovereign had ugly expressions. The strength that Jiang Tian had displayed was too terrifying. Winterfell was huge and dozens of golden core cultivators could not withstand the power of Jiang Tian's fist. They were just a few golden core cultivators. If they wanted to challenge Jiang Tian, it would be like moths flying into a flame. They were not enough at all. Kong Taechu did not use the absolute heaven sword. I'm afraid he has the strength of a soul formation cultivator. The Xinming Grotto heaven is in danger. We might not be able to defend it. The nascent soul heavenly lords of the Xinming Grotto heaven were pale and scared out of their wits. They had thought that they had overestimated Jiang Tian's strength, but when they really saw it, they realized that they were still far from it. Scorch the ground and destroy the Xinming Grotto heaven immediately. We can't leave those treasures to Kong Taechu. An important person of the Xianming Grotto heaven shouted with determination in his eyes. He turned around and flew towards the Xianming Grotto heaven. Chapter 1489. Don't worry. Winterfell used to be supported by the palace of the Ruins Emperor. It won't be that simple. The Winterfell outside is just a cover. They have more resources. The master of the Xianming Grotto heaven, an experienced nascent soul cultivator, said. Everyone was slightly stunned. Then they saw a few black dots flew out from the ruins of Winterfell. They were Zhu Fenghuang, Zhu Fengrui, Zhu Fenglan and Yu Linzi. These top cultivators of the Extreme Wind clan were all in an extremely sorry state. Then Zhu Fenglan, the beautiful Castellan, was terrified. Her hair was messy and she was bleeding. Her face was full of hatred. Jiang Tian's punch was too terrifying. Only grand perfected cultivators with superior grade golden cores comparable to the elites on the God of War roll or top overlords with many protection Dharma artifacts would have been crushed together with the other members of the Zhu Fenglan family. In fact, even with Zhu Fenglan's strength, she would not be able to take a single punch from Jiang Tian. It was only in a moment of desperation that Yu Qilin threw her 3 defensive true treasures to save her life. But even so, she was still in great pain. Countless bones and tendons were broken all over her body, and her internal organs and meridians were all heavily injured. Zhu Fenglan's clear and beautiful eyes scanned the ground. When she saw the flattened Winterfell, her eyes were almost spitting fire. Her pretty face was filled with hatred as she shouted in a delicate voice. What's wrong? She shouted. Kang Teichu destroyed my city and killed my family. If I don't take revenge, I won't be a man. I swear today that one day, I will tear you, Jiang Taichu, into thousands of pieces. I will track you down to the solar system and Earth and kill your parents, wife, and children. Not a single one will be spared. Zhu Fenglan hated Jiang Tian to the core. She gritted her teeth and almost vomited blood. Although Winterfell wasn't the real ancestral land of the Zhu Fenglan family, they had lived there for 10,000 years and the area around them was their territory. Most of the heavenly treasures were concentrated in this giant city. Countless spirit stones, medicinal pills, magical treasures, and materials were piled up like mountains. They were so vast that they could fill up an entire valley. This was the accumulation of their many years of plundering. Now he was crushed by Jiang Tian's fist. Needless to say, there were also the 8 cultivator armies guarding the city, which made Zhu Fenglan extremely distressed. The reason why the Extreme Wind family was able to occupy Winterfell, the 3rd largest city in this world, was because even the North Sea Saber Monarch did not dare to slight them. The cultivator army was made up of dozens of golden core cultivators and tens of thousands of foundation establishment cultivators. When they worked together, they were extremely powerful. Even a nascent soul heavenly lord would have to avoid them. All those years ago, a single army had once swept through the northern sea world, and it caused numerous sects and clans to tremble with uneasiness. So how formidable were the 8 armies that guarded the city? It was simply plowing through the courtyard and sweeping through the acupoints, unrivaled. Other than the elites on the God of War roll in the mortal world, who also had a supreme-grade true artifact or a quasi-Dao artifact, or a real nascent soul heavenly lord, no one could stop the Extreme Wind family. But just then, the 8 armies were crushed by Jiang Tian's fist before they could even fly into the sky and display their power. How could Zhu Fenglan not be angry? Kang Teichu, you're vicious. Yu Linzi also shouted as he protected Zhu Fenglan. Kang Teichu will never be able to live under the same sky as you. Zhu Fenghuang was so furious that he almost vomited blood. We won't stop until we're dead. I'll kill my way to your ancestral land, bathe thousands of miles in blood, and kill 1 billion people. Only then can I take revenge. Zhu Fengrui gritted his teeth and his golden armor let out rays of golden light. The bronze spear in his hand was old and dull, but it was intimidating as if an ancient dragon were about to wake up. This was a superior grade true artifact, which was rare in a level 3 world like the North Sea. It could suppress a world. Long Shengnan, Ghost Wolf, Wushujian, It's time for you to show your real skills. Kill them. Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold. His reverse scale had been touched, and he berated sternly. Yes. Gui Lang and Wu Shujian shouted loudly. Their bodies moved like lightning, each displaying their own unique skills, and rushed towards the remaining warriors of the Zhu Feng clan. They were all experienced warriors and knew the meaning of Jiang Tian's action. Letting them kill the Ruins Emperor's men was equivalent to admitting their allegiance. From then on, there was no way out and there was no possibility of returning to the ruins of deity. Only then could Jiang Tian let them go. Don't you dare hurt our city lord and family head. The Winterfell 8 horsemen are here. At this time, 8 figures rose from the ruins and blocked in front of Ghost Wolf, Wu Shujian and Long Xing'an. Each of them was a golden core perfected cultivator and their dharma forms rose. They were the generals of the 8 garrisons. They had not died to Jiang Tian's punch and had only been severely injured. They had consumed pills to recover from their injuries. Now that they had recovered their combat strength, they soared into the clouds. The 8 garrisons of Winterfell were all extraordinarily mighty. They rode huge white condors with huge wings that blotted out the sky. They were about 1,000 feet long and looked like they were carved from white jade. They were snow-white and crystalline. The talons of the condors were like steel hooks and their feathers were like blades. Their gazes were cold and sharp, making them look extremely majestic. They were called snow condors and were primordial species that only existed in the North Sea. They were not afraid of the cold and were not even afraid of the cold winds of hell. They were extremely fast and had vigorous vitality. The snow condors they rode had been carefully nurtured. They usually ate pills for food and drank from spirit spring water. Countless natural treasures were used to awaken their intelligence and stimulate their cultivation. Each one of them had strength that matched a golden core perfected cultivator. Ghost Wolfguard Captain, are you really going to be so obstinate as to kill the Ruins Emperor's descendants in public and defy the heavenly rules? No matter how strong you are, there will come a day when you are brought to justice by the Ruins Emperor's palace. A garrison general shouted as he rode a snow condor. His lifeblood was exuberant as black armor covered his slender and muscular body. He wielded a huge broadsword with both hands as his killing intent tore through the heavens. He was filled with a sense of oppression. Everyone was alarmed. The garrison general had a half-step nascent soul cultivation level. He was dozens of times stronger than many of the sect masters and family patriarchs of this world. These garrison generals had extraordinary backgrounds and were actually peerless cultivators of the 9 guards of the Ruins Emperor's palace. They were not far from becoming divine generals. As they had violated the heavenly rules and committed serious crimes, they were supposed to be struck by 10,000 bolts of lightning tribulation. Their bodies and souls would be destroyed, and their entire family would be wiped out. Later, Prince Qiuming pleaded on their behalf and the Ruins Emperor's palace showed them mercy. Only then were they banished from the ruins of immortality and sent to a desolate land in the lower world to atone for their crimes. However, they were definitely not weak. In fact, they were very strong, surpassing many sect masters and realm lords. After all, Winterfell was a fortress built by the Ruins Emperor's palace. It was representative. Pwah! To everyone's surprise, Ghost Wolf did not stop. His eyes were sinister as his killing intent boiled. He tore through space with the Void Piercer in hand and vanished from his spot. The next moment, he traversed 5 kilometers of the void and appeared beside the garrison general. He was faster than lightning. Without a word, he sliced through the void with the Void Piercer, causing cracks to appear in space. The garrison general was cleaved apart as blood splattered, dyeing the sky red. Even his snow condor mount did not have a chance to escape as it was torn to shreds by the spatial cracks. At that moment, everyone felt their heads explode. Even the peerless cultivators sent by the Ruins Emperor's palace to guard the lower realm had been killed by Ghost Wolf without mercy. The war had reached its climax and it was a life-and-death struggle. There was no possibility of peace talks. Jiang Tian and company acted without any scruples. It was not as simple as snatching resources or raising their cultivation levels. Instead, they resisted for the sake of resistance and slaughter. They wanted to flatten all the factions of the ruins emperor. They were resolute, and austere. They were as sharp as the void piercer as they destroyed everything. Eighth brother! The other 7 garrison generals of Winterfell roared. Their eyes were red as they were enraged. They guarded Winterfell together with eighth brother and often sparred with each other. They worked together to slay enemies and demons, leaving their backs to each other. Their relationship was like that of brothers. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. They commanded the snow condors to fly in the air. All kinds of Dharma forms erupted. Flames, ice, black smoke, golden light, flying swords, and long spears filled the air and intertwined. Their momentum was earth-shattering, shaking the sun and the moon. Chapter 1490. Humph! Child's play. You didn't even become the divine general of the 9 guards of the ruins Emperor's palace. You were only my subordinates. How dare you? Ghost Wolf grunted. He was indeed one of the top 3 assassins in the ruins of immortality. He was proficient in the art of assassination. Even when facing 7 golden core grand perfected cultivators and a half-heavenly lord, he was still able to move like a butterfly. After the first slash had wiped out one of the guardian generals, the second slash had already pierced through the air. It was faster and fiercer than the 7 guardian generals. When they released their Dharma forms, his air-piercing blade was already less than half a foot away from the 7th guardian general's neck. The Ghost Wolf's assassination technique was not to be underestimated. Back then, he had successfully killed a semi-god realm cultivator. And in the sky above the ancient demon abyss, he had seen Jiang Tian use the Kuan-Peng extreme speed nomological laws during his battle with Jiang Tian. Over the past 2 days, Jiang Tian had casually given him some pointers, and he had reached the limit. He had obtained a great opportunity, and his strength had increased by 3 to 5 times. Many of the Dharma laws that Jiang Tian had mastered were God-level Dharma laws. They were applicable everywhere and were close to the Great Tao. They were extraordinary and terrifying. Brothers, save me! Old Seven screamed. His face was as pale as paper. He felt as if he had been entangled by a giant snake and couldn't break free. In a flash, many Dharma artifacts and runes on his body were activated. They shone brightly like the sun in the sky, trying to block and attack. But it was too late. Poof! The void piercer pierced through the air, and black spatial cracks spread out in all directions with the tip of the blade as the center, like tentacles dancing in the air. Old Seven's head was the first to be hit. It exploded like a rotten watermelon that had been hit by a 1,000-pound hammer and almost splashed dozens of meters away. Ghost Wolf killed 1 person with each slash. He didn't meet any decent resistance. He only attacked twice and the 2 guards of Winterfell died on the spot. Blood was everywhere and it was extremely tragic. Before dying, the 7th Guardian General's face was filled with despair and unwillingness, as well as endless fear. He had actually been killed by Ghost Wolf's spatial blade technique, and his corpse fell onto the icy, snowy ground. Fresh blood gushed out, but in the blink of an eye, it was frozen by the bone-chilling cold wind. The scarlet and dazzling blood was like a crystal, extremely frightening. Screech! The 7th General was killed, and blood splattered everywhere. His mount, the snow eagle, danced in the air. Its enormous wings were like heavenly blades as they swept towards the Ghost Wolf. Pooh! Blood splattered everywhere, and the jade-white feathers withered and fluttered in the wind. Ghost Wolf had chopped off its skull with his blade. Blood gushed out of its neck like a fountain, and the white bones were horrifying. The mountain-like corpse fell on the ground, and its blood flowed like a small river. Ghost Wolf, you are so ruthless. He had completely betrayed the wise, great, and invincible ruins emperor. Damn you! 7th brother! The remaining guards roared angrily. They were both shocked and furious as they attacked one after another. All sorts of Dharma artifacts attacked the Ghost Wolf together. They were like meteorites that fell from the sky. They shone brightly as they tore through the sky with terrifying might. The Juefeng family was a relative of the royal family and was related to Prince Qiuming's lineage. Furthermore, they had been saved by Prince Qiuming on their behalf. If the Juefeng family was wiped out, they would be too ashamed to face Prince Qiuming. Kill. Ghost Wolf must not be left alive. Miss Juefeng Lan, young Master Yu Linzi, leave quickly. The guards roared angrily as their eyes turned red. However, the ghost wolf had already escaped into the void and temporarily vanished. Everyone expected that if it were to erupt again, there would probably be experts among the guards that would perish. Do you think I, a genius ranked 20th on the God of War roll, don't exist? Wu Shujian was burning with anxiety as he felt immense pressure. The ghost wolf was too powerful, and his attacks were too fast. If he waited any longer, Wu Shujian would not be able to achieve anything. How was he to gain Jiang Tian's trust? With a stern bellow, he immediately unleashed his power. Thousands of silver fish-like flying swords erupted from his back, causing the entire world to tremble. It interfered with the laws and destroyed the Dharma-characteristic Dharma artifacts of the 6 guards. All of a sudden, countless tiny magic swords gathered and reassembled, forming a huge flying sword that was 30 meters long. It shot into the air and streaked across the sky like an antelope's horn, leaving no trace behind. It swept past the 6 generals. With a chi-la sound, the heavens trembled, and the stars in the sky seemed like they were about to be annihilated. Sword energy rushed into the heavens, and sword light illuminated the sky. A guard general was hacked in half at the waist, and even his golden core was destroyed. He instantly exploded, and even his soul was destroyed. The other 2 guards were severely injured. Terrifying sword wounds covered their entire bodies, like children opening their mouths, revealing their organs and broken bones. They couldn't be healed in a short time because Wu Shujian was also a nascent soul cultivator and his attacks involved the laws. They were just golden core cultivators and couldn't destroy the laws. Immediately after, Ghost Wolf also escaped from the space. Gaining the upper hand, he did not show any mercy and stabbed out with his blade. The sun and moon were in chaos, the heavens and the earth were hanging upside down, and space shattered like glass. The bodies of the 2 guards that were originally heavily injured by Wu Shujian had been torn apart, their intestines pierced through, and they died extremely miserably. Kong Teichu, what kind of magic potion did you feed them to make the ghost wolf and Wu Shujian so loyal to you? Seeing more than half of his brothers die in the blink of an eye, the first guard felt as if his heart was being cut by a knife. He shouted loudly and hated Jiang Tian so much that he gritted his teeth. Kong Teichu was too powerful. Furthermore, Wu Shujian and the ghost wolf under him were not weak either. One was a half-step soul formation cultivator who was proficient in assassination, and the other was a nascent soul sword cultivator. They each had their own strengths and each of them could easily kill them. This is the loyalty of the people. The ruins emperor you follow is trash. You're blindly loyal. You're used to being slaves and you're even thinking for your master. Today, I'll kill you slaves until you despair. At that moment, Jiang Tian didn't attack. He just watched with a mocking smile, like a cat playing with a mouse. Kong Teichu, you're cruel and bloodthirsty. You've stirred up a storm of blood time and time again. Even if I kill you, a devil bandit, 10,000 times, it won't be enough to appease the hatred in my heart. I'll extract your soul and refine it with raging inferno and underworld wind every day. I'll let you taste the pain of purgatory. At that moment, seeing the ghost wolf and Wu Shujian going on a killing spree, Zhu Fenglan shouted. Her beautiful eyes were bloodshot and her voluptuous chest heaved up and down violently. Her curvaceous body rippled with alluring waves. She was very beautiful and tall. Her long legs were straight and fit. Even the leg models on Earth would feel so inferior that they would bang their heads against the wall. This place was at the border of Southern Gate 2 stars. The illumination was very weak. Her skin was as white as snow and extremely delicate. It was as white as ivory without any blemishes. Even her pores couldn't be seen. After 10,000 years of extreme cold, the people here usually had high noses and deep eyes. Their eyeballs were also blue like gemstones. Zhu Fenglan was a typical example. She looked very much like Reba. The tip of her nose was straight and she had an exotic charm. At that moment, Yu Linzi had already escorted her to a secret transportation array 100 li away. This was a passageway-level transportation array. It was set up by Her Highness Qiuming. Although the scale was small and could only transport 3 to 5 people at a time, it was enough to transport the Zhu Fenglan clan to the Below Sea world. They would be safe there. Her hatred for Jiang Tian was as deep as the ocean. Killing Jiang Tian wouldn't be enough to appease her hatred. Only by torturing and humiliating him with the cruelest methods to deal with cultivators could she be appeased. You don't have a chance. You can't escape. A delicate shout was heard. Long Xingnan had already arrived. She used the 9 Dragons Emperor technique and her killing intent was awe-inspiring. 9 vital chi flood dragons circled around her delicate body. Suddenly, they tore through space and rushed over. Chapter 1491. Long Xingnan, you are an elite of the Dragon Clan and an important subject of the Ruins Emperor. You owe the Ruins Emperor's palace a great debt of gratitude. Yet, you are acting as the villain's accomplice by siding with a bandit like Kong Teichu. Foolish. Juefeng Lan bellowed as she conjured seals with both hands, casting a cultivation technique that was passed down from her ancestors. Dark winds billowed as though they came from hell. The coldness permeated the void for 5 kilometers as she engaged in battle with Long Xingnan. Flood Dragon Tail Whip. Juefeng Lan was only at the perfected Golden Core realm. How could she be the match of the half-step nascent soul Long Xingnan? She was sent flying by a flood dragon's gigantic tail. In midair, her petite body emitted explosive cracking sounds as her bones and tendons snapped. Blood spewed out of her mouth as she crashed into the icy lands 1,000 meters away. Long Xingnan's attack was too fast. Even Yu Linzi failed to block it. I only hate myself for being blindly loyal and siding with Senior Kong Teichu too late. The Ruins Emperor is harsh and merciless, treating lower realm cultivators like ants. He does not know that water can carry a boat, but it can also sink it. However, he does not know that if a ruler treats his subjects as weeds, his subjects will treat him as an enemy. He, the Ruins Emperor, is a tyrant. He deserves death. Gigantic dragons coiled around Long Xingnan's petite body as dragon aura filled the void for 5 kilometers. She was like an empress that looked down on the world. She was high and mighty and feared no one. At that moment, the demonic barrier in her heart had dissipated. She did not submit to the Ruins Emperor, nor was she a slave. Her killing intent surged as she reigned supreme. She was invincible and fearless. From today onwards, she would pursue her own path. Only then could she reveal the true might of the 9 Dragons Emperor technique. Only then could she demonstrate the overwhelming bearing of a successor of the Dragon Clan. Long Xingnan, how dare you disrespect the Ruins Emperor? How audacious of you! Don't you know the principle that all lands under the heavens belong to the Emperor? All subjects under the heavens belong to the Emperor. If a ruler wants a subject to die, a subject must die. You deserve death for speaking such ironic words. Yu Linzi was enraged as his handsome face turned steely. He bellowed sternly as he used a mystic technique taught by the 100 Moons Academy to attack Long Xingnan. A person like him came from a humble background. If he hadn't been promoted by the 100 Moons Academy, he might have been a fishmonger that everyone trampled on and would never be able to make a comeback. As someone with vested interests, he could not see the bigger picture. In his mind, everything in the ruins of immortality was reasonable. The Ruins Emperor was a perfect and omnipotent true god. He needed to be protected and no one was to blaspheme or offend him. With a flick of his hand, a heavenly halberd appeared in his hand. A layer of purple gold armor appeared on his body. The nascent soul realm Qilin demon beast beneath him also had dense green scales. They rushed down together like a demon god descending to the mortal world. Tens of thousands of soldiers parted as they charged towards Long Xingnan. This great halberd was about 100 zhang long and extremely heavy. It was a top-grade true treasure, and it was like a mountain. The green halberd shaft and the snow-white halberd blade tore apart the heavens, creating a terrifying whistling sound. Figures were everywhere, as if there was a group of gods and devils roaring, following by the great halberd's side. They hacked through the world, smashing through all obstructions, terrifying beyond compare. This was the soul-absorbing halberd, which could absorb divine souls. The divine souls of the cultivators and demons killed by it would be absorbed into it and become part of its power. It would continue to increase, and when used, it would create a great interference between soul energy and dharma power. Ghost Wolf, Wushujian, you're too slow. Jiang Tian shouted in a low voice, revealing a somewhat displeased expression. What did he say? You call that slow? Beside him, countless cultivators were shocked when they heard this. In just a few seconds, Ghost Wolf and Wushujian had already killed 6 golden core cultivators and half a step away from the nascent soul realm. That was too slow? Whether it's fast or slow depends on who you're compared to. Only Yao Yu Fairy had a bitter smile on her face. She looked at Jiang Tian with respect and love. On the ancient demon abyss, Jiang Tian had a hard time killing half-soul formation cultivators, but killing nascent soul heavenly lords was as easy as slaughtering chickens. As for golden core cultivators, he could kill hundreds of them with a wave of his hand. The 8 generals here didn't even have a nascent soul cultivator. They were only golden core cultivators or half a step away from the nascent soul realm, but Ghost Wolf and Wushujian had been killing for a long time. Compared to Jiang Tian, they were simply worlds apart. Shujian, hurry up. Master is getting impatient. You're going to be beaten later. Ghost Wolf roared. His saber was like a shadow floating in the air, breaking through the void and piercing through the heart of one of the guards. With a shake of the strange saber, the space was torn apart, and the guard's golden core exploded. Kill! Wu Shujian was also very anxious. He even burned his nascent soul. The silver sword aura rolled out like tides and minced the remaining generals into pieces. Clusters of bloody mist exploded in the sky, and a rain of flesh rained down. All the gold cores exploded into countless pieces like a nuclear explosion, shaking the earth and the sky. I wonder how Long Shengnan is doing? By then, the 8 generals had been killed by the 2 of them. The 2 of them flew to the teleport array 100 miles away without saying a word. Yu Linzi was the most powerful among them. At the same time, they scanned with their immortal will and saw a shocking scene. Kill. Surrender or die. You only have 2 choices. Although Long Shengnan's 9 Dragons Emperor art was powerful, Yu Linzi was one of the top 5 elites on the God of War list after all. He had already entered the mid-stage nascent soul realm. Long Shengnan was immediately pushed back. Her body was covered in blood and her armor was broken. She was knocked away again and again, but she wasn't afraid. She jumped up again and attacked. Crazy woman, go to hell. Yu Linzi and Zhu Fenglan's family were entangled by Long Shengnan. They couldn't escape even with the teleportation array. The 4 of them were anxious and worked together to kill Long Shengnan. Yu Linzi's halberd swept across the sky and used all his strength to kill Long Shengnan quickly. Bitch, you colluded with bandits and betrayed the Ruins Emperor's palace. Even if you die 100 times, you won't be able to forgive your sins. You should be exiled to the 9 Nether Death Star and repent for the rest of your life. The other 3 people from the Zhu Fenglan family also roared and attacked with all their might. Suddenly, mystic techniques and Dharma artifacts flew across the sky like meteorites or the wind from hell. Every one of them was extremely powerful and could easily kill golden cores and severely injure nascent soul realm cultivators. They all rushed towards Long Shengnan. Stubborn! I'll send you to heaven. Yu Linzi also roared in anger. He roared cruelly and his killing intent surged. The halberd descended from the sky and pierced through the clouds, destroying everything as it went straight for Long Shengnan's forehead. Clang, crack, rumble. This was his stunning attack. The void shattered and the glaciers within 100 miles cracked loudly. There was a huge avalanche and thousands of snowy peaks collapsed. As expected of someone who cultivated in the 100 Moons Academy in the ruins of immortality. As expected of a peerless genius on the war god list. This halberd destroyed everything within 100 miles and crushed everything. Many of the onlooking cultivators were shocked. The cultivators from the North Sea Saber Emperor's lineage were so frightened that their legs were trembling. Their eyes were filled with fear and admiration. So powerful! Even the cultivators from the Xianming Grotto heaven nodded slightly with admiration. This halberd was so powerful that it even destroyed space. Even Kong Teichu might not be able to block it, let alone Long Xingnan. Chapter 1492. Bang, bang, bang. Long Xingnan's 9 yuan Qi Jiao dragons coiled in front of her to form huge dragon shields, but they couldn't withstand the attack. The dragon shields exploded one after another, yuan Qi gushed out, and the scales and bones scattered in the air. The sharp halberd was 1,000 feet long. It was like a dragon soaring in the sky or a missile. Its size was astonishing and its speed was as fast as lightning. It completely exceeded the speed of sound by 20 times and shattered the void. It was only 3 meters away from her forehead that was as smooth as jade. At the moment of death, Long Xingnan was very calm. She was not afraid at all, only a little regretful. She stood in the void with her hands clasped behind her back as tears streamed down her face. Her gaze seemed to penetrate her tears and the endless void to see a huge bright star. She looked up and mumbled, "What a pity, Father. I was too foolish. I didn't join Senior Grand Primordium earlier and kill the Ruins Emperor and his henchmen to avenge you. Even if I felt that the chances of winning were slim, I had to resist. As long as I didn't die, I had to fight. Where's your ruthlessness? Where's your tenacity? Where did it go? It was eaten by the dogs." Just as Long Xingnan's heart was filled with despair and regret, a voice full of sorrow for her misfortune and anger suddenly rang out beside her. Long Xingnan saw Jiang Tian in a black robe suddenly appear in the void through her teary eyes. At that moment, in everyone's eyes, in front of the 1,000-feet-long soul-absorbing halberd, Jiang Tian, who was the size of a normal person, appeared extremely tiny and weak. He was like an egg at the foot of Mount Tai or a mantis under a bronze chariot. There was no power to speak of. But then, Jiang Tian pointed his finger. His jade-white finger struck the sharp tip of the halberd. Clang! The sharp tip of the halberd that could pierce through mountains and land was blocked by Jiang Tian's finger. It could not move an inch further. In an instant, there were countless souls and vast soul energies. They roared and ferociously charged towards Jiang Tian with inertia. But the next moment, rumble! A strand of strong wind arose from the point of contact between his finger and the tip of the spear, and it was like a tsunami that swept through the surroundings and minced all the spirits and spiritual energy into powder. With the point of contact as the center, terrifying cracks spread out in all directions, quickly covering the tip of the halberd and the pole like a spider web. Bang! In less than a second, the soul-absorbing halberd, together with the countless resentful spirits attached to it, exploded. The fragments flew in the air like butterflies. Dong dong dong. Yu Qilin instantly retreated 10 steps back. Every step he took would shatter a piece of space, causing the space to ripple intensely. However, he only managed to stabilize himself after retreating for 100 miles. He felt a sweet taste in his throat as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Not to mention that the webbing between his thumb and index finger was torn apart. Even his arms were torn open from the impact, causing blood to flow out. Terrifying. The power of a single finger is actually so terrifying. Yu Qilin's heart pounded as he stared dumbfounded at Jiang Tian. A chill ran from his spine to the top of his head, as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. He also considered himself a genius, an expert ranked 5th on the war god list. His reputation was brilliant even in the ruins of immortality. It was unknown just how many young ladies from prestigious families were his little fangirls, unknown just how many great cultivators discussed the Tao with him. But at this moment, compared to Jiang Tian's strength, he realized that he was completely useless. He was sure that Jiang Tian had not used his full strength, but he was still able to shatter his supreme-grade true artifact halberd with a single finger. If he had retreated a little slower, he would definitely have been torn to pieces by the aftershock of Jiang Tian's finger. Kong Teichu is indeed too strong. A single finger was able to block the full-strength attack of a God of War list prodigy and even shatter a supreme-grade true artifact. Also, he didn't use any spells or divine powers, nor did he use his Dharma form. Even his true essence is very weak. It's obvious that he's just relying on his body. What is he made of? His body is so strong that it can shake a supreme-grade true artifact. At this moment, countless cultivators from the North Sea were startled. The North Sea Blade Lord's family was so frightened that they trembled and wanted to run away. This is troublesome. We might not be able to stop Kong Teichu. What should we do with the Xianming Cold Spring? The nascent soul heavenly lords of the Xianming Grotto Heaven were anxious. The Xianming Cold Spring was a treasure of the world. With Kong Teichu's immortal will, there was no way they could hide it, let alone destroy it. Demon, I'm not afraid of you. Kill! In the field, Yuchilin was furious. He shook his hands and another halberd formed in his hands. It was completely formed by laws and was very powerful. Immediately after, he attacked Jiang Tian with halberd after halberd. Natural laws rumbled and trembled. Each time, he had the power to sink a continent and destroy a mountain peak. You're too weak. Jiang Tian sneered. His body swayed and he used the Kuanpeng's extreme speed. The laws under his feet rumbled. He was as relaxed and casual as a dream, but the halberd could not stop him at all. It was like a deity dancing on the edge of a blade or taking a stroll at the gates of hell. Between life and death, he revealed a kind of elegance and ease. Long Shengnan was mesmerized. Kong Teichu, you are a traitor of the Ruins Emperor. You are a bandit and unforgivable. You should go to the 9 Nether Death Star to repent and be a slave for the rest of your life for 10,000 years. Only then can you redeem yourself. Yuchilin roared. He was loyal to the Ruins Emperor's palace and the North Sea was his homeland. With his lover beside him, he was fearless even if he went crazy in battle. Before he could finish his sentence, his ferocious and cold expression froze. A finger beam burst out from Jiang Tian's finger and pierced through the halberd phantoms. It tore through the laws and landed on his head. The finger beam penetrated his head. The resplendent finger radiance shattered everything. It was sharp to the extreme as it pierced through his forehead and came out from the back of his head. Red and white matter splashed out as blood and brain matter flowed out. The golden finger radiance brought out hot brain matter as it rushed out. It looked extremely bloody. No one expected Jiang Tian's finger to be so peerlessly sharp. From the beginning to the end, Jiang Tian had only used 2 moves. The first move shattered his supreme-grade true artifact and the second move killed Yuchilin, the 5th-ranked paragon on the God of War roll. Right on the heels of that, Yuchilin's nascent soul that was severely injured exploded. His head and half of his body were reduced to ashes and blood rain. Only a small portion of his body was left on the ground. At that moment, countless people shuddered. Jiang Tian was too terrifying. He killed a nascent soul heavenly lord with a single finger and was ranked 5th on the God of War roll. How powerful was this? How glorious was this? How tyrannical was this? There were a lot of rumors about Jiang Tian in this world before, but most cultivators didn't believe them. They said he killed more than 20 nascent soul heavenly lords on the 18 islands, trampled on the 3 golden crows and killed 28 half-soul formation cultivators in the ancient demon abyss. Did they sound like something a human would say? A cultivator from the desolate solar system, like a bumpkin from a remote village. No, like a cockroach that crawled out of a wasteland, had the power of a half-soul formation cultivator. And yet, everyone believed it at that moment. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was like a god of war. His black hair reached his shoulders and his robe fluttered in the wind. His body was slender and strong and his eyes were like cold lightning. Chapter 1493. Wah, Jiang Taichu, you actually killed Yu Linzi. You're a demon, a demon. Zhu Fenglan was even more heartbroken. Her face was twisted and her hands and feet were spasming. She hated Jiang Tian to the extreme because of the death of her childhood sweetheart. All the elites lowered their heads when they saw Kang Taechu. Wu Shujian exclaimed in horror. Then he suddenly saw Ghost Wolf break through the void and attack Zhu Feng Huang with the air-piercing blade. He slapped his thigh again. If he was a bit slower, Ghost Wolf would have taken the lead again. He quickly rushed over. Kang Taechu, you're ruthless and cruel. You'll be punished by the heavens in the future. Noticing the Ghost Wolf's approach, Wind Baron expelled his chi and turned into a stream of light, fleeing in a sorry state. However, he still roared angrily and cursed viciously. Kill him. Jiang Tian's face was as cold as iron. He didn't say anything and urged Ghost Wolf. The air-piercing blade was extremely sharp. As the blade pierced through the air, cracks appeared in the space. Gale Wind Baron's body suddenly froze in the air. In the next moment, his golden elixir body, which was known to be indestructible, suddenly cracked like broken porcelain. Terrifying cracks appeared all over his body. Kang Taechu, you're so ruthless. Then he exploded in a shrill scream. His body, golden core, and even divine soul were crushed by the fragments of the dimension. Kang Taechu, you killed the innocent and you're cruel. Even the heavens won't forgive you. You'll be punished in the future and you'll die a horrible death. Zhu Fengrui's eyes turned red when he saw the death of his family's ancestral patriarch. He roared and his golden armor shone brightly. His halberd was in the sky and he rode a snow eagle towards Jiang Tian. The halberd pierced through the void and its energy surged. Everything within a 10-mile radius trembled and a cold wind blew as if it came from hell. It was full of killing intent and coldness. His power was shocking. You're not qualified to be my enemy. I, Kang Taechu, am not afraid of karma. I like to go against the heavens. Only a coward would curse. I have always executed my own Tao. And now you will die a horrible death. In the face of such a powerful aura, Jiang Tian was like a cool breeze brushing past his face. He didn't move at all and only let out a cold laugh. Since he left behind his last words, Wu Shujian had already arrived. He would not give Zhu Fengrui the chance to fight with Jiang Tian. In front of Jiang Tian, Zhu Fengrui, a golden core cultivator, was like an ant. You can die now. He exploded in an instant. Tens of thousands of flying swords, too many to count, flew towards Zhu Fengrui like a storm of locusts. Every one of them was extremely sharp, surrounded by the rumbling of the precepts of sword. But Zhu Fengrui couldn't defend himself at all. He screamed in agony as his mountain-like body was pierced through countless times. Tiny flying swords shot out from his body in all directions, bringing with them clouds of blood mist. His golden core was riddled with holes and then exploded uncontrollably. Kang Taechu, you're vicious. You're a devil. Zhu Fengrui almost went crazy. She screamed loudly, her hair was disheveled and her hatred was overwhelming. Watching her lover and brother being killed was an unbearable pain. She saw with her own two eyes that a few tens of ancestors had rushed over from all directions to provide assistance, and they charged towards Jiang Tian like moths to a flame. However, they were easily crushed into powder by a flick of Jiang Tian's finger and a flick of his sleeve, and even their golden cores and souls were obliterated. Countless cultivators of the Zhu Fengrui family fought passionately, but in front of Jiang Tian, Wu Shujian and Ghost Wolf, they couldn't withstand a single punch or kick. Many supreme-grade true artifacts that could kill elites on the God of War list were used, all of which came from the help of the ruins Emperor's Palace. Jiang Tian even struggled slightly, and easily got rid of it as if it was a straw. The Zhu Fengrui family's thousands of years of accumulation were no match for Jiang Tian's flick of his finger. He was invincible. Zhu Fengrui didn't know what it meant to be invincible, what it meant to be ruthless, but at that moment she finally understood. At that moment, Jiang Tian was like a peerless fiend lord, the only ruler who could destroy everything. With a punch, the galaxy collapsed. With a flick of his finger, there was nothing it couldn't destroy. In front of him, all living things were like ants and dust. No one could go against his will. Those who were watching the battle were trembling and almost suffocating. You talk too much. Jiang Tian sneered and raised his hand gently at Zhu Fengrui. The essence Qi hand grabbed Zhu Fengrui, who was terrified and wanted to run away. I'll send you to hell. Reunite with your family and lover. Jiang Tian clenched his fist gently and the woman exploded in the air. Blood filled the sky and all the secret treasures, Dharma artifacts, bodies, golden cores and divine souls turned into nothingness. After 3 flicks of his finger, a few stragglers and a few cats and kittens were also killed by Long Shengnian, Wu Shujian and Ghost Wolf. There was no one left in the Zhu Fengrui family. Jiang Tian looked at the sky a few thousand miles away and said coldly, "This battle has nothing to do with ordinary people. All the cultivation sects and families have broken ties with the ruins of deity. If they kneel and surrender, they can live. I've seen people who don't kneel and surrender along the way. Kill them all. Don't leave a chicken or a dog alive." At this time, Jiang Tian's divine sense had already reached an incomparably powerful level. With just a thought, everyone felt as if there was a god 3 feet above their heads, and they could clearly sense it. "We submit to you. From now on, we'll follow the lead of the Taichu Heavenly Lord." 3,000 miles away, on a towering mountain, in a large sect, a few golden core cultivators who were watching the battle through a telescope were scared out of their wits. They trembled and knelt on the ground, bowing deeply. Not only them, thousands of sects in the North Sea, including the North Sea Blade Emperor's family, were also trembling in fear. They immediately declared their allegiance to Jiang Tian and broke ties with the ruins of deity. Why didn't the people of the Xianming Grotto Heaven say anything? Not convinced? Not afraid? Not willing to surrender? Fine, I'm going to wipe you out right now. Jiang Tian suddenly sensed something, and then his face turned cold. He looked in the direction of the Xianming paradise that was 50,000 kilometers away and shouted loudly. Following his words, the heavens and earth began to rumble. Waves of divine sense over 100,000 zhang long surged in the rift. The mortals, cultivators, beasts, and even plants within 1,000 li sensed it and trembled in fear, as if they were being suppressed by thousands of mountains, or even a vast continent. What? He's going to wipe out the Xianming Grotto Heaven. The cultivators who were watching the battle near the Winterfell battlefield exclaimed in shock. At that moment, tens of thousands of cultivators had gathered within 1,000 miles of the city. Almost all the cultivators in the North Sea had gathered there. There was no lack of golden core cultivators, family heads, city lords, sect masters, and elders among them. He's here to wipe out the forces of the Ruins Emperor's Palace. Winterfell has only received the support of the Ruins Emperor's Palace. It can be considered half the bloodline of the Ruins Emperor's Palace. The Xianming Grotto Heaven is undoubtedly the son of the Ruins Emperor's Palace. How can he let it go? A cultivator slapped his thigh and said, Countless cultivators were extremely shocked when they thought of that. Their faces turned pale. That was the Xianming Grotto Heaven. The branch of the Ruins Emperor's Palace was a strong fortress with a deep foundation and incredible strength. Could Kong Teichu really wipe it out? Chapter 1494. At that moment, an old cultivator in the crowd sighed regretfully. I heard that the cultivators of the Xianming Grotto Heaven have already become one with the Grotto Heaven. Every breath and action they take can affect the entire world. In that Grotto Heaven with a radius of 50 kilometers, they are like gods who can gather the power of the Grotto Heaven. Fellow Taoist Tai Chu is very strong, but this is too rash. He was a sect master of a large sect. He pretended to be worried and regretful, but there was a trace of mockery in the depths of his eyes. It was obvious that he did not think highly of Jiang Tian. Fellow Taoist Tai Chu said that he wants to flatten the Xianming Grotto Heaven, but I'm afraid it will take 3 to 5 months. Are we going to wait here forever? A city lord spoke. Although he was kneeling on the ground, he was tall and mighty, and his tone was full of mockery. 3 to 5 months, and we still have to stay kneeling? I'm afraid my knees won't be able to take it. The disciples of the North Sea Saber Emperor sneered. Sighs could be heard all around. Although they were afraid of Jiang Tian's power and did not have a close relationship with the ruins Emperor's palace, they were still the ones with vested interests in this world. They stood at the top of the pyramid of power in this world, at the top of the food chain. To them, it was best to maintain the status quo. And Jiang Tian was here to change the situation, to change a lot. Of course, that was what they did not want to see. They did not dare to say it, but in their hearts, they treated Jiang Tian as a bandit, a killing god, and a devil. They could not wait for Jiang Tian to die at the hands of the Xianming Grotto Heaven. Seeing this, Long Xingnan and Fairy Yao Yu were very unhappy. Wu Shujian frowned, wishing he could behead this group of people. Jiang Tian did not bring them along to flatten the Xianming Grotto Heaven. Even destroying Winterfell was just a matter of flicking his sleeve for Jiang Tian. He only asked them to take action to prove their allegiance. But in the face of these people's doubts and ridicule, they couldn't do anything. These Northern Sea cultivators were evil. They didn't openly oppose you, but even if they said strange things, you wouldn't be able to argue with them. If he wanted to kill people, then Jiang Tian's crime of willfully slaughtering the innocent would be confirmed. In the future, it would be difficult for him to win the hearts of the people in this world. His rule would be as firm as a rock. Jie Jie. At this moment, Ghost Wolf suddenly let out a strange laugh. His laughter was very light, yet in the ears of everyone, it was like the laughter of a devil from hell, causing their scalps to go numb, and it instantly suppressed the entire scene to become deathly silent. Back then, he was a peerless assassin who dominated the ruins of immortality. He had even killed a soul formation cultivator. Later on, he became the captain of the Dark Crow Guards in the ruins Emperor's palace. His resume was too frightening. Fellow Taoists, please listen to me. Ghost Wolf sneered. What? The cultivators of the Northern Sea realm frowned and looked up. Ghost Wolf walked out with large strides. He held a golden ball in his hand and raised it into the air. The golden ball flew out into the sky and let out endless rays of light, opening a giant golden curtain. Through the golden curtain, the thousands of cultivators around the ruins of Winterfell could clearly see a black-robed, black-eyed, shoulder-length haired Jiang Tian standing in a snowy valley with his hands behind his back. In the snowy valley, the wind was howling and the snow was like a mat. There were towering mountains around it, and gusts of white wind rose from the ground and swept the sky like white dragons dancing wildly. In the sky, a giant stone tablet floated and countless thunderbolts fell around it. That was the true thunder of the laws, which could kill a nascent soul heavenly lord with one strike. At this moment, it was like a sea of lightning, shocking the world. At the same time, snowstorms rose into the sky like black tornadoes, like iron chains that stretched across the sky, enveloping a seemingly real and yet illusory area. On the giant stone tablet, there were 3 large words written in silver, Xianming Grotto Heaven. The words were red like flowing blood, extremely frightening. What? He has already arrived at the Xianming Grotto Heaven. At this moment, the entire place was filled with exclamations and gasps. The mockery on the faces of all the cultivators was gone, and they were enveloped by shock and fear as if they had seen a demon. As for Ghost Wolf, a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In just 15 minutes, Jiang Tian had already arrived at the Xianming Grotto Heaven, crossing 100,000 miles of ice and snow. Not many people could match his speed even in the ruins of deity. Behind the mountain gate of the Xianming Grotto Heaven, behind the barrier of clouds, fog, thunder and lightning and raging snowstorms, was a world with birds chirping and flowers fragrant, dense spirit chi like a fog, and essence chi like a waterfall. In this place, spirit fruits and great medicines grew everywhere, swaying with the wind. The verdant embryonic origin fruit, the red agate-like flaming phoenix fruit, and the golden origin energy fruit hung on the jasper-like branches one by one, string after string. A cool breeze blew by, and there were no ripples on the surface of a lake. It was very calm and clear, and waves of fruit fragrance were tempting. Nearby, spirit plants were everywhere, and spirit medicine emitted a strange fragrance that was full of vitality. In a divine garden by the lakeside, the palace halls were continuous, mighty and majestic, and there were exquisite pavilions and pagodas as decorations. Under a pure white stone arch bridge, the Xianming cold spring flowed, and dense spiritual energy rose up. In the lake, the endless Xianming cold spring flowed, and there was actually an ancient lotus growing. It was boundlessly huge and had 12 lotus platforms. It bloomed with auspicious colors and spirit qi coiled around it, looking extremely mysterious. Even ordinary cultivators would be able to acutely sense that whether it was this ancient lotus or the Xianming cold spring, they were absolutely terrifying treasures of heaven and earth. They could allow cultivators to reach the heavens in a single step, or they could be refined into powerful and everlasting true artifacts or even Tao artifacts. In the Divine Garden, there was a simple platform on which 7 nascent soul heavenly lords were sitting with their legs crossed, anxiously waiting for the ancient lotus to mature. The faint sound of a flute came out from the woods and courtyards. It was very gentle and very pleasant to the ears. Wisps of celestial music flowed and brushed past hundreds of flowers, which instantly bloomed and crossed the clear spring. Dense steam rose into the air and spread to the sky, attracting all kinds of birds and dancing around the platform. It was ethereal like a deity and transcended the mortal world. The sound of the flute could cleanse the mortal world and make people feel peaceful. There were a total of 6 nascent soul heavenly lords, and one of them was even a half-step soul formation cultivator. These 7 giants were all powerful and shone like stars in the sky. However, they didn't participate in the battle against Jiang Tian on the 18 Island and the ancient demon abyss, because they had a more important responsibility, which was to protect the Xianming cold spring and the ancient lotus. The Grand Chancellor of the Academy, Yan Hua, has sent a flying sword message, saying that they're no match for Kong Teichu. Prince Chunyu has died and they've retreated to the Hailan world. A short nascent soul heavenly lord with chicken skin and a crane's head said with a bitter face. And I've just received a message from my disciple. Kong Teichu is invincible and has already conquered Winterfell. He's going to conquer the North Sea world. He'll definitely come to the Xianming Grotto heaven to settle the score. Yan Hua is so cowardly and heartless. How dare he abandon his fellow cultivators? A tall and burly man with a curly beard who looked like an angry King Kong said angrily. Elder Wu, Yan Hua belongs to the Academy. And we belong to the Sword God of the Ruins Emperor Palace. The Academy and the Sword God don't agree with each other. Prince Qiuming and Prince Chunyu have always been fighting for power. Now that he's suffered, why would he help us? A handsome cultivator with a long sword on his back who looked like an ancient scholar sneered with a piercing gaze. His name was Zhou Zian and he was one of Prince Qiuming's trusted subordinates. He was a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator and a peerless sword cultivator. 300 years ago, there was a riot in Zhangzhou in the ruins of immortality. He had once quelled it and killed 10 nascent soul heavenly lords with a slash. He was famous in the ruins of immortality and had a deep prestige. The short elder with chicken skin and a crane's head sighed and said bitterly, "We can't leave." You can't leave. This Xianming Grotto Heaven was originally built as an imperial residence for His Majesty, the Ruins Emperor. When he awakens, he can tour the lower realms and stay there. If we can't defend it, we'll be sentenced to death. We have to defend it, but Kong Teichu is so strong and fierce. Even the 3 Golden Crow guards, Yan Hua and Prince Chunyu were defeated. We're the only ones left. It's really difficult to defend it alone. The bearded elder Wu's hair and beard were completely red, as if they were burning with flames. He said in an irritable tone, "Elder AI, you're born a coward. You're worried about this and afraid of that. If Kong Teichu really dares to come, I'll smack him into meat paste." Chapter 1495. The short elder AI, whose robe was embroidered with a lot of poisonous insects, shrank his head and was about to refute. Ahem! The half-soul formation Grotto Heaven owner slowly opened his eyes and said, Don't worry. Don't worry. We've refined this Grotto Heaven for decades. The origin energy of the world is connected with our Dharma laws. It'll increase our power to an unimaginable level. As long as we don't leave this grotto heaven, Kong Taechu won't be able to kill us. We'll even kill him easily. That old man's name was Marulong. He used to be an elder of a heavenly sect in the ruins of deity. He was famous for being fierce and had a high status. He could completely suppress a second-level dimension. If not for Prince Qiuming excavating the Xianming Frost Spring to build a temporary residence for the ruins emperor when he left seclusion, gaining the ruins emperor's favor and inviting him personally, he would not have come down to the lower realm to preside over the grotto heaven. His azure robe was old and his face was thin. He was unusually tall and strong. Even though he was sitting there, he was like a towering mountain that couldn't be shaken. His gray hair reached his shoulders and his face was cold. When he opened his eyes, there seemed to be 2 flashes of lightning in the sky. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's and he was as fierce as a tiger. Everyone nodded after hearing that and their confidence was boosted. Marulong was the most powerful among them, but he was only as powerful as the leader of the Golden Crow Guards, Jiang Tian. He shouldn't be a match for Jiang Tian. However, it was completely different when they occupied this grotto heaven. They had already cultivated and sat here for several dozen years, or even over a century. Their minds had become one with the laws of this paradise, as if they were the rulers of this paradise. They were extremely adept at borrowing and mobilizing the power of this paradise. As they stretched and stretched, they merged with the entire world, becoming indistinguishable from each other. Every single action they made seemed to be able to bring about boundless power. That way, their combat power would be increased 100 times. Even a normal nascent soul cultivator could be as powerful as a soul formation cultivator, not to mention that they weren't normal nascent soul cultivators. With the support of this grotto heaven, it could be said that even a real divine transformation realm cultivator would not dare to step in recklessly. Elder Wu chuckled and said, "Elder AI, Old Ma is right. We might even be able to kill a soul formation grand cultivator, not to mention Kong Taechu. You're too cowardly. I'm just afraid that he won't dare to come." Laughing at Jiang Tian, everyone smiled knowingly. Rumble! An earth-shattering explosion rang out. The palace shook, and the cold spring water surged with monstrous waves. Many cultivators were caught off guard and almost fell to the ground. What happened? All the elders were shocked. Many disciples rushed out from the various halls of the paradise like rainbows piercing through the sun. They stood in the void and looked around, their faces blank. They did not know what was going on. This sort of situation was very rare to begin with. There was a barrier separating the grotto heaven and the great world. Although the barrier wasn't as strong as the dimension barrier or the world membrane, it was still very stable. Those below the peak stage nascent soul level wouldn't be able to move it at all. For example, Jiang Tian had smashed the array of Winterfell with hundreds of thousands of feet tall mountains, but it was impossible for him to destroy the barrier of the grotto heaven. The barrier of the grotto heaven was naturally formed and it was almost as strong as the Great Tao. It was indestructible and normal forces would not be able to destroy it. Someone is attacking the Xianming grotto heaven. The only female cultivator among the 7 overlords put down her flute and looked outside of the grotto heaven. The melodious sound of the flute stopped abruptly. This female cultivator had a graceful body, bright eyes and white teeth. She was extremely beautiful. She wore a green Taoist robe, and her hair was tied up by a golden crown. Her black hair was so shiny that it could reflect one's appearance. Her black brows were curved, her eyelashes were long, and her skin was snow white and tender. Her beautiful eyes contained a poetic charm, and there was a spirit and clarity that seemed to have seen through the mortal world. Fairy Qingshi, just like her name, was as graceful as a poem, as beautiful as a dream and as elegant as a peerless beauty. She was breathtakingly beautiful. All the cultivators present were tempted and did not dare to look at her directly. It has to be known that the cultivators present who had reached this level had seen far too many beautiful women in the sea of people. Moreover, their temperaments were different from ordinary people, and their Tao hearts were as calm as a boulder. To them, women were like skeletons, and their bodies were like bags of skin. However, her beauty did not come from her appearance or even her bones. Instead, it was a special aura. The more one looked at her, the more extraordinary she seemed. She was compatible with the Tao and exuded a pure and natural aura. Fairy Qingshi was a genius elite. Her name was known throughout the vast ruins of immortality. She had once been Prince Qiuming's master. Although she was not as strong as the teacher or the sword god of the ruins Emperor's palace, she was not much weaker. She had even been the Grand Chancellor of the 100 Moons Academy. However, after Prince Qiuming became an adult, his feelings for her slowly changed. It was no longer as simple as a master and disciple relationship. However, Fairy Qingshi was focused on the Tao. She went to the lower realm to avoid meeting Prince Qiuming. Otherwise, with her talent, strength, and reputation, she would have reached the peak of the soul formation realm and could even be the dean of the academy. Is that Kong Teichu? Fairy Qingshi's clear eyes seemed to be able to see through everything in the world. She looked through the palaces, barriers, and array waves and looked outside the grotto heaven. She waved her hand gently. A golden halo appeared in the sky. In the halo, a young man in black reached out a finger and gently knocked on the barrier of the Xianming grotto heaven, like a mortal knocking on the door of his neighbor's house. However, every time he knocked, the barrier would shake violently. The mountain gate would rumble and even the entire grotto heaven would tremble slightly. At the same time, a calm and clear voice passed through the strict barriers and arrays and clearly reached the ears of every elder and cultivator. Kong Teichu from the mountains is here to clean up the caves. Please come out and meet me. At that moment, the 7 leaders present were furious and their faces turned pale. Kong Teichu, how dare you come? Elder Wu gritted his teeth and 2 10-foot flames of anger shot out of his eyes. They seemed to be able to melt the stars, shatter the moon, and burn the sky. Oh my God! At that moment, on the ruins of Winterfell thousands of miles away, many cultivators were already in an uproar. Countless cultivators knelt on the ground and looked up at the giant golden screen in the sky without blinking. The light screen was very clear and Jiang Tian's every detail could be seen on it. This golden light screen was the display part of a surveillance Dharma artifact. When the golden crow, the white python and the dark crow came to the northern sea to observe the situation of the defense here, they had set up many surveillance Dharma artifacts around the Xianming grotto heaven so that they could observe from a distance. Jiang Tian only pointed his finger at the sky and knocked on the barrier of the mountain gate lightly. The protective array of the Xianming grotto heaven shook violently as if it was about to collapse. The barrier formed by the wind, snow, thunder and cold waves seemed to have been hit by the giant hammer of a prehistoric giant miracle god. A giant dent of 1,000 square meters was formed as if it was about to collapse. Oh my God! Kong Teichu really came to the gate of the Xianming grotto heaven. How can it be fake? I've been to the Xianming grotto heaven when I traveled the northern sea. I know what their mountain gate looks like. That's it. Didn't they say that the Xianming grotto heaven is at least 10,000 miles away from here? Even a heavenly lord would need 6 hours to fly there. How can Kong Teichu be so fast? Kong Teichu isn't an ordinary nascent soul heavenly lord. He can kill more than 20 half-soul formation cultivators. How can we speculate about his divine abilities? It's not difficult for him to travel tens of thousands of miles in 10 seconds. Some people couldn't believe it, while others were impressed. It could be said that Jiang Tian had won the respect of many people just by breaking open the space and instantly attacking the Xianming cave that was 100,000 miles away. He had turned many powerful cultivators into his little fans. The entire Winterfell and the entire northern sea was in an uproar because of Jiang Tian. He had traveled 100,000 miles in a blink and crossed half of the northern sea. What did such a terrifying speed mean? Many people were terrified. If Jiang Tian could reach the Xianming grotto heaven so quickly, could he also reach his own sect so quickly? The answer was obvious. This meant that if anyone dared to go against Jiang Tian in the northern sea realm, he would be able to kill them in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn or even the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. They wouldn't even have a chance to escape. What do you mean by being hunted down to the ends of the earth? Impossible. It was an instant kill. Many sect leaders, elders, and family heads shuddered at the thought of this. Their hearts turned icy cold, 10 times colder than the northern sea realm's 10,000-year cold wind. Chapter 1496. That guy is so powerful. The 7 leaders of the Xianming Grotto Heaven looked terrible. Even the local cultivators of the North Sea understood. As cultivators from the upper worlds, they were more knowledgeable and had a deeper understanding of cultivation and strength. How could they not understand the key points? At this moment, even the leader of the Grotto Heaven, Ma Rulong, pursed his lips and half of his arrogance and confidence dissipated. His eyes were extremely deep and there was light flickering in his eyes. He was also hesitant. The other elders looked at each other and their immortal wills clashed as they exchanged opinions. At this time, Wu Shujian found a giant rock under the golden screen and sat down lazily. He sipped the thunderfire wine that Jiang Tian gave him and laughed. Awesome! It's so awesome to work with Brother Tai Chu. So what if he's fast? At this time, the cultivators of the North Sea who were unhappy with Jiang Tian finally said, "This Grotto Heaven's barrier is even stronger than the one of the legendary Golden Crow Ancient Emperor in the ancient demon abyss of the Yingzhou world. This is a natural Grotto Heaven that fell into the North Sea from the depths of space thousands of years ago. Its barrier is unbreakable and only a soul formation Grand Cultivator broke it. I don't believe that Senior Tai Chu can break it. Try to slander Senior Tai Chu again. You're asking for death." Long Xingnan was furious after hearing that. But Ghost Wolf stopped her and didn't say a word. But in the depths of his eyes, there was contempt and mockery that everyone could clearly sense. Senior Tai Chu's laws are even more powerful than ordinary Great Daos. I'm afraid he's the reincarnation of the legendary old monster of the Central Galaxy. His power isn't something that these bumpkins can imagine. We don't have to say anything. Let's just wait and see. Reality will slap these disobedient people in the face. He talked to Long Xingnan and Wu Shujian with his immortal wills and laughed. You don't want to see me and think you can stop me by hiding in this turtle shell. In that case, I can only forcefully break open this eggshell and talk to you all. Seeing that there was no movement in the Grotto Heaven, Jiang Tian said with a mocking smile. Wait! At this time, 2 figures broke through the barrier and appeared in the air. They were none other than Fairy Qingshi and Elder Wu. Fairy Qingshi's figure was tall and slender, and her appearance was unparalleled. She was devastatingly beautiful. Her jade-like arms were flawless and sparkling like porcelain. Her waist was slender and her legs were long and straight. Her steps were light and graceful, like a startled swan. She was as graceful as a swimming dragon. Her white robe fluttered in the wind, and her temperament was outstanding. Your Excellency, absolute beginning, this place isn't heavily guarded. It's not a fortress or stronghold. It's just a place for us to cultivate in seclusion. As for us, we're just wandering around the mortal world. We don't care about the mortal world, we don't fight, and we have no grudges against fellow Taoist Tai Chu. Fellow Taoist Tai Chu, why do you have to make things difficult for us? Fairy Qingshi smiled from ear to ear as her red lips parted slightly. Her voice had a magnetic quality that sounded like the sounds of nature. It was pleasant to the ears. Her attitude was very gentle as she tried to dissolve Jiang Tian's killing intent. Fellow Taoists, all of you have noble statuses. I know that as well, so I won't make things difficult for you or put you on the spot. I'll leave you some dignity. There's no need for you to kneel and admit defeat. Swear to sever ties with the Ruins Emperor. All you need to do is leave this world. Jiang Tian's expression was cold as steel, but he made an appropriate concession. This Grotto Heaven is the temporary residence of the Ruins Emperor that we are guarding under the orders of the Ruins Emperor Hall. If we were to leave now, the Ruins Emperor Hall will definitely punish us. Only death awaits us. Fairy Qingshi revealed a wry smile as she cupped her fists. Her tone and actions were very elegant and appropriate. Fellow Taoist Tai Chu, please make things easy for us. Be magnanimous and let us off. She was a peerless beauty with peerless immortal charm. Her soft pleading and pitiful appearance probably made it difficult for any man in the world to persevere. They would be swayed and softened by her. However, Jiang Tian had seen all sorts of situations. He had killed his entire life, dyeing the firmaments red with blood. His Tao heart was already as stable as a boulder and as firm as Vajra. He was completely unmoved. His expression was as cold as steel, as his gaze was as sharp as a blade. He said without reservation, "The ruins Emperor's various worlds will belong to me, Kong Teichu. This Xianming Grotto heaven is mine today. If you move aside, I'll spare your life if we meet again on the battlefield. But if you stand in my way today, I'll kill you. You might be afraid of the ruins Emperor, but aren't you afraid that the absolute heaven sword in my hand will kill mercilessly?" Fellow Taoist, what do you mean? Do you think we 7 powerhouses are pushovers? Do you want to barge into our Xianming Grotto heaven? Elder Wu took a step forward and bellowed angrily. His nascent soul roared and his Dharma form was released. It turned out to be a giant fire qilin. The fire qilin was 1,000 feet tall and was like a flaming mountain. It stepped on thunderbolts and its body was surrounded by flames. It was mighty and its cold eyes looked down at everyone as it roared into the sky. That Dharma form was different from the Dharma form of a normal nascent soul heavenly lord. It was connected to the earth fire deep inside the grotto heaven and was extremely condensed. Its power was immense and endless. When the Dharma form was released, a heavenly power descended 100 miles away from the grotto heaven. The energy was so strong and vast that it had never appeared in the North Sea. The cultivators far away felt chills down their spines when they sensed it. With a roar, a huge pillar of fire shot out from the fire qilin's mouth. Everything within a radius of 100 miles trembled. All the creatures were so scared that they were shivering and crawling on the ground. The primordial beasts fell from the sky, and the ferocious beasts buried their heads in the snow. So what? Jiang Tian didn't retreat in the face of Elder Wu's overwhelming power. He was calm and fearless. Kong Teichu. Elder Wu was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He was speechless. He had traveled across the ruins of deity and lived for thousands of years. He was knowledgeable and had seen all kinds of bandits. However, it was the first time that he had seen someone like Jiang Tian, who was resolute, domineering, and had a bandit temperament. It made him feel a little helpless, as if he had just met a soldier. In the past, with his fiery temper, Elder Wu would have attacked him immediately and destroyed his body and soul. But he didn't dare to do that in front of Jiang Tian. Kong Teichu, don't say I didn't warn you. Elder Wu tried to put up a strong front as he roared. The 7 of us have sat cross-legged and cultivated bitterly here for at least 100 years, and we've completely fused with this abode. Our resources and reserves are so deep that it's utterly not something you can imagine. If I were you, I would choose to avoid them instead of throwing an egg at a rock and asking for death. Boom! As soon as he said that, the grotto heaven shook. Chains of earth fire that were 10,000 feet long gushed out from the bottom of the grotto heaven and were infused into his fire qilin Dharma form. Suddenly, the fire qilin Dharma form was more than 10 times stronger than before. It turned into a god with a qilin head and a human body. Its vast energy suppressed all living beings in a 1,000-mile radius. All of them knelt on the ground and trembled. In the Xianming Grotto heaven, countless cultivators floated in the air and activated the Dharma arrays of the grotto heaven, ready to launch a terrifying attack on Jiang Tian. I'm not afraid even if a real soul formation cultivator is here. Besides, you haven't even reached the soul formation level. You're just using a nascent soul Dharma form to simulate it. There's no point in talking. I'll give you 10 flicks of the fingers. If you don't retreat, I'll kill you. Jiang Tian put his hands in his sleeves and closed his eyes. He looked lazy, but he had already given the ultimatum. He was going to kill in the next second. This guy is ruthless and his heart is as hard as iron. I'm afraid we can't persuade him. Get ready for a fight to the death. In the grotto heaven, Ma Rulong's face turned pale as if he was facing a formidable enemy. He waved his sleeves and flew to the sky, approaching where Jiang Tian was. Swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh! The entire paradise shook. In the divine garden, numerous powerful figures turned into rainbows that pierced through the heavens and the earth. They rose from the ground and flew towards Jiang Tian. 10 flicks of the fingers. It's time. Jiang Tian suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze was like lightning as he pointed a finger at Elder Wu. Elder Wu was alarmed. He waved his right hand and the fire Qilin in the form of a god turned into a ray of red light and fell into his hand. It instantly turned into a flaming saber. With the saber in his hand, Elder Wu's energy surged endlessly, surpassing what it was before. In an instant, he reached the peak stage of the nascent soul level, half a step away from the soul formation level and was close to the soul formation level. Every breath he took seemed to have merged with the entire grotto heaven and affected the vast earth fire at the bottom of the grotto heaven. He was the master of this vast grotto heaven. In fact, all the energy of the earth fire in this grotto heaven was being strengthened by Elder Wu. He slashed with his saber and the flames slashed towards Jiang Tian. It wasn't just the power of his Dharma form. It also gathered all the earth fire within a 100-mile radius. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.